Happy HCM Awareness Day to one and all. Welcome to tonight's presentation from the HCMA. We're just making sure that we're streaming on all of our platforms and you're all popping into the webinar. So good to see you all populating so quickly. Thank you and welcome. I'll give everybody another minute while we get ourselves organized. We've got a lot planned for you this evening. The good news is you won't be listening to me all night. There's going to be some other voices and faces that you're going to see throughout the evening. So welcome to HCM Awareness Day. Wait, I'm getting text messages. What is happening here? And oh, how cute. That's great. Thank you, BMS team who just texted me. All right, guys. Well, it's our day. It's this time of year. It's HCM Awareness Day. And there's a lot going on in the HCM world. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different topics over the next few hours. And I hope by the end of the evening, you get a really good understanding of where we are in the HCMA, where HCM is going in the future. I know you can't get away from your TVs now without hearing about HCM through all of the disease awareness campaigns and the branded campaigns. So there's a lot going on right now. So, Xander and Jet say hi. Hi, Xander. Hi, Jet. Hi. All right. I'm allowed to talk to the grands. You know that. All right. So, welcome to tonight's event and let's get this party started. I'm going to introduce you to our team. We're going to do a bit of a State of the Union. We're going to talk about some of our Center of Excellence partners. We're going to recap our Hill Day. You're going to learn the story of Jared Butler. You're going to learn about HCM in 2024 and its HCM management. There's a typo there. We're going to talk about our ambassadors program. We are going to take a few moments in memorial of those no longer with us. We're going to talk about the faces of HCM, and we're going to issue a survey to you. You will be questioned about some of the videos that you're going to see tonight in that questionnaire, or that survey. If you participated in the survey already, feel free to take the survey again. It wasn't really supposed to be launched until after you saw the videos tonight. So when you said, which is your favorite HCMA center video contribution, and you all answered, you haven't seen it yet. So that's not real. So we're going to let you see some people's, some centers. I can't even talk, people. I've been going so fast today. You're going to see lots of centers give their comments and share some thoughts. You're going to hear from some of our sponsors and partners. And I apologize for how quickly we've kind of put some of these pieces together tonight. But for those of you who don't know, I was down with COVID all last week. Today's my first COVID negative day. So it's been a little bit of a crazy week running into HCM Awareness Day. So if there's anything that we don't hit perfectly, I will have an opportunity to update you more later. So welcome. All right. So I am going to step off stage for a moment and I'm going to introduce you to some of the members of the HCMA team in their own voice, because the boss doesn't need to talk about it. You can hear it directly from them. Here we go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Linda Montgomery, and I am thrilled to be here with you on HCM Awareness Day 2024. So a little about what I do here at the HCMA. I mainly am involved with anything to do with patients. So whether it's patient calls, patient questions, patient information, and yes, I do lots and lots of patient intake calls. I load your data, and then I set up your navigation calls. The other parts of my time are spent with patients and clinical trials. Many of you have gotten emails from me, phone calls from me, asking if you're interested in a trial. And then I will work with the sponsor company to send your contact information over and see if you're a good fit for the trial. So there's lots more that I do, but I only have 30 seconds. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Joey Graham, and I'm from Indiana. And I have HCM, non-obstructed. I was diagnosed about 2 years ago, and that's what led me to find HCMA. And man, it was a lifesaver for me just to find people that shared stories with me and symptoms and could relate with me. And it's a community that's always there. So when Lisa asked me to be part of the podcast production, I jumped at the chance because I've spent, we'll just say, almost 40 years in the broadcast industry, and my skill set matched with what she was trying to accomplish. And it really is a privilege for me each and every week on Tales from the Heart to have a front row seat to watch Lisa do her magic. I'm just really thankful that I have this opportunity to be part of the team. I love this team. We have fun, we work hard, and we all share a common goal, and that is fighting this genetic disease of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy.
Hi, everybody. Happy HCM Awareness Day. I'm Elena. I'm the Assistant Director for the organization. In that role, I manage the relationships with all of our amazing partners. I write grants, I oversee charitable giving, and I also do some of the behind-the-scenes business management. I found HCMA through my daughter, and I've worked here as Assistant Director for a little over 2 years now. I'm just so glad I get to be part of this community every day and be part of the important work that we do. Happy Heart Month, everybody.
Hi, my name is Noreen Dolan, and I am a nurse practitioner. I was a nurse practitioner for 40 years, and I've worked with HCM patients for over 20. I recently retired from my full-time job in Boston, and now I am working with the HCMA. I want to wish you all well and wish you a happy HCM Awareness Day.
Hi, my name is Ross Hadley. I'm a lifetime member of the HCMA and the project manager for the HCMA, handling the back end and front end initiatives of many of the projects that help support and educate our community. I'm very grateful for the support of the HCMA and living the big health, big heart, big life.
Hi, I'm Kim and a new member of the HCMA team, having started as the new administrative assistant role during Heart Month has been a very exciting and inspiring time. I'm looking forward to all that's ahead. Happy Heart Month and happy HCM Awareness Day.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm the intake coordinator for the HCMA. I'm one of the people that you'll talk to when you come to us for help, and I love helping people feel a little less anxious about their HCM. So I'm also one of the people who writes the educational materials for our website. I moderate the Facebook group, so you may see me in there. And I also am one of the people who runs the pre-myectomy group. So if you come to our Zoom group to prepare for your surgery, you may see me there. And I hope that I'm helping all of you feel a little bit better about having HCM. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Olivia. I am the graphic designer at the HCMA, and I've been here for over a year and a half now. All the print and digital assets that come out of the HCMA have either been created by me or I've had a hand in. So your Facebook frames, the PowerPoints, the magazine, all that I've had a hand in. And I just want to say I hope everyone has had a great Heart Month and is enjoying HCM Awareness Day.
Hi, my name is Julie. On HCM Awareness Day, I get an opportunity to share how honored I feel to serve the HCM community as both an HCMA legislative advocate and volunteer coordinator. The HCMA's mission to provide support, advocacy, and education to patients, families, medical community, and public about HCM while supporting research and fostering the development of treatments probably seems like a lot of work for a small but mighty team of HCMA staff. And you would be right. It's our volunteers that make us a much larger and mightier force, giving us the ability to get things done. A big thank you to our volunteers. Each and every one of you are a pleasure to work with. We look forward to expanding our reach to serve the HCM community throughout 2024 by engaging even more volunteers. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacey Titus Brown, and I'm the Center of Excellence Coordinator here at the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association. So I essentially help maintain our current recognize centers of excellence, as well as help develop and bring on new programs to make sure that all patients have access to high volume care that specialize in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I too myself have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and was diagnosed as a child. And unfortunately, I lost my mother when I was just 10 years old due to mismanaged HCM. So high volume care, getting to a center of excellence, and making sure all patients have that access so that they don't experience unnecessary deaths like I had to experience in my own family is my passion and my why as to my role and what I do here at the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association, and why HCM Awareness Day is so important to me.
Do I have a great team or what? There's a few other members that were unable to get their videos in. So shout out to Josh, who does a lot of our video work, and to Cody, who does our social media, and to Michelle, who is involved with our international programming. And we have other contractors who do work with us from time to time. And it is all of these the staff, the volunteers, the contractors who are really helping us elevate our voice, which I hope you've seen a big difference in the past 3 years or so as to how much work we've been able to accomplish and how many projects we've taken on. So, here we go again. You're going to see that problem all night. Every time there's a video, it replays it when I try to move on. So now I'm going to put on my CEO hat, and I'm going to kind of give a bit of a State of the Union address. I promise not to be as dry as a politician, and hopefully can have a little bit of fun while informing you as well. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and as I'm going on to this part of the talk, I realized that we forgot to put the Facebook moderators in the volunteer page. So Facebook moderators, love ya. We'll recognize you later. Okay. So, first and foremost, right behind me here, I have a whole pile of these super cool resolutions from different states. So, we have had states and municipalities recognize HCM Awareness Day with resolutions, proclamations, and laws. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to get out there and talk to people about what HCM is by having a day to focus. So, this is our day. It is the fourth Wednesday of every February. And we hope that the states who have not signed proclamations do so for next year. If you want to champion your state, give us a call and we can help you figure out how to do this. It's really not that hard. And we are also seeking a federal HCM Awareness Day. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So big thank yous out to the individuals who took on championing an HCM awareness resolution in either their state or municipality. So Bill Rossi, Scott Barakis, Joe Hansen, Dolores, I'm not going to pronounce your last name right, Biller Dowse and Nicholas Dowse and Abby Cannon. Thank you for taking leadership roles for your state or your municipality to help raise awareness about HCM and HCM Awareness Day. So we're looking forward to continuing this process next year and hopefully someday getting every state to recognize HCM Awareness Day. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the services of the HCMA for those of you who do not know. And one of the things, it actually just came up yesterday in a Facebook post, our navigation call and peer-to-peer support all start with an intake call. So if you have not done an intake call with the HCMA in the last 2 to 3 years, or have never done one at all, we encourage you to call and set up with either Linda or Sabrina and do an intake. This is an opportunity for us to figure out where you are now. And if everything is good and quiet, that's fantastic. But if things change, we'd rather know where you are starting from rather than you calling, having a moment of question or something has happened in the family and you want to discuss, and it's a bit more urgent. So let's get a good baseline down and start with an intake call. And then you can have a navigation call starting in 3 weeks. Most of the navigation calls will be handled by Noreen, who you just saw. And many of you might remember her because she kind of worked at a little program in Boston that used to be at Tufts and is now at Leahy. But when she retired, you think I let that just lie down and not bring her back into the fold? So we're really excited to have Noreen on our team now. So that's our intake and navigation process. That also gives you the opportunity as we are developing our patient registry to consent to allow your information to be used for research purposes in a de-identified fashion. So you'll be learning more about the patient registry in coming months once we get our IRB approval. So yes, you did, Seth. I saw that. I'm watching. So our Center of Excellence programming, I will put up the map later. Currently, we have 50 HCMA recognized centers of excellence. We have 2 programs under review right now that are going to probably come online in the next couple of months. And then later this summer, you will see that we will be taking a trip to the West Coast and visiting places from Southern California all the way up to Alaska and a lot of places in between. So that West Coast is going to get more populated with HCMA recognized Center of Excellence care. We're really excited about that. Many of you have participated in our Big Hearted Warrior tours. We have them every month or so. Some of them are special topics. Some of them are featuring individual centers. They're all available on our YouTube channel. And it's really important that these things keep evolving because data changes, our knowledge changes, advances come, and you never can rest on your laurels with HCM. Things are always changing. So how do you keep up? It's a great way to just log on to an HCM Big Hearted Warrior tour and learn a bit more about what's happening in HCM. Other projects that we have are our online discussion groups. We'll talk a little bit more about those later, where you can sign on most weekdays. There's something going on a discussion group. If you want to talk about pre or post myectomy, getting an ICD, living with HCM, emotional wellness, planning for upcoming procedures, transplant, we've added another transplant group. So we have a total transplant, which is pre and post, and then we have a pre-transplant group that was just added this year. So we're here to walk you through. You find peer support, you can get some information, and not feel so alone out there. We've had a lot of requests for, on the ground support groups, but they're hard for HCM patients. If you're tired at the end of a day and you really want some camaraderie and some education and some support, it's a lot easier to log on to Zoom than it is to get in the car and go across town or go across state to a in-person support group meeting. Although some of those are coming back online, we like the online version. It just seems to be a bit more easy for the HCM population. Tales from the Heart is our podcast, and we are expanding the podcast so that every week we have a healthcare provider who will join us in podcasting. And then we are doing pre-recorded, so they drop a couple days later, patient stories. There should be at least 3 or 4 of those per month. This week, you're going to see one drop from a dear friend in New Zealand who has HCM, went on and had a heart transplant. And earlier or late last year, she had a baby post-transplant. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing journey. And Heidi tells it so well. So I hope you take a moment to listen to that one when it drops. We've also been very involved with HCM Academy over the past 3 years, and we're going into our 3rd year of programming, which is, I'm sorry, I just got tongue-tied there. It is HCM education for medical professionals in a CME course. It is a phenomenal program run with our partners at PCM Scientific, and the faculty for that program includes Marty Marion's on faculty, Anjali Owens, Steve Amon, myself. We're kind of the leadership team. And then we bring in different voices from the HCM community to deliver some of these symposia. It's been a wonderful experience to be able to share HCM knowledge at this level, and thousands of individuals worldwide have taken advantage of this online learning opportunity. And a big shout out to our corporate sponsors of that platform. We've been able to educate so many because of the partnership that we've created. Our online discussion group leaders, we have to just take a moment and give them big shouts out and props because it is their volunteerism that allows this program to remain very focused. And one of the most important things about having these online programs is to make sure that they are constantly available. If it pops up once in a blue moon, people aren't going to tune in regularly. But because of the dedication of the volunteers who are running these groups, people know where to find us. They've gotten to become friends with other people who are going to the same groups. And I really just want to shout out and thank all of our discussion group leaders And there's the potential to add a few more discussion groups in the coming months and years. So if there's a particular topic that you're interested in, always share your thoughts with us. There's going to be a survey that you can take, and you can share your thoughts with us in that survey, or just email us. We're happy to hear what you have to say. So volunteers are really integral to our success. And as of right now, we have over 500 volunteers signed up. It's a matter of putting people together with the right assignment at the right time. So in this graph, you see our GEMS program, because you're all GEMS to us. So a Red Gem is donating 80 hours per year. An Emerald is 40 to 79 hours, and so on. And you can see how many wonderful people have been donating a lot of time. It may be a one-off project. They may be on a committee. They may be a Facebook moderator. They may be a discussion group leader. There's so many ways that you can get involved and help. And if you log your hours, we can actually account for that in our annual report. I think we had 2023, we had over 2,500 hours donated. And that's amazing. That's like a full-time staff person. It's, think about how much time it takes to get things done. And if everybody gives in a couple of hours a month, we can get a lot more done, especially when we come to our legislative initiatives, which I'll be speaking about shortly. Okay. We created our own magazine this year. So it was published for October, right ahead of our meeting. And we actually had to go out, and there's 4 boxes sitting in the office right now, because we had to go get more copies, because we went through 1,000 copies in the snap of a finger. So we are going to be going into our 2nd edition. And when we do that, we might put a call out for stories. You'll learn how you can share your story and help raise awareness about HCM through things like sharing your story through a magazine. You may start seeing this magazine pop up at some of your centers of excellence. We've offered them an opportunity to brand a version of the magazine to their center. And so you may see it popping up in other centers, and it may look a little different when it's a center-based upbeat magazine. So props to Olivia, who did a great job creating a magazine out of nothing. So if you want to get a copy of this, you can just email us, or it comes with a renewal membership or a membership package. And we sent a whole bunch of them out to the center, so your center should have one waiting around for you too. Our annual report. This is hot off the presses, literally. Here it is. So our annual report is now done. I'm super excited to share so many amazing changes and numbers with you through the annual report. You can scan it right here and go right to the report. And again, what we've been able to accomplish in 2023 was extraordinary. And I'm stoked at how much we've been able to get done. And you can see who our partners are. You can see where our revenue comes from. You can see all of our partnerships. We are completely transparent. And I should note that we just finished our first statutorily required audit. So that audit information will be made available in the coming weeks. So everything is transparent. All things are open to the public. This is your organization. We just run it. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And it's going to take a village. And I will go to the next slide in donations. We need to come up with a very clear, sustainable, and transparent path to keeping us financially viable. So if you are feeling like the HCMA has provided you with services, or you find our work important, I would really encourage you to consider us when giving your philanthropic dollars. There are a number of different ways that you can give. This is our general donation. We'll talk in a little bit about the Lori Fund and how you can direct your donations to particular campaigns. You can go to our campaign sites. We are starting to do some fundraising for something called the All Hearts Collaborative, which is a health equity campaign, so that we can help to find more Black and Brown individuals with HCM around the world. So notice I'm like pausing on this one for an extra second or two, because it's like the donate now. We work really hard. Please donate when you can. Okay, next. These are our HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence programs. If you think it's a busy slide, you're right. It is a busy slide, because we have 50 HCMA recognized centers of excellence. And in the manner of transparency, I think it's important that the community understands how these programs are created. You heard earlier from Stacy, our Center of Excellence coordinator. A great deal of information is collected from each center in our application process. There's a site visit. The centers pay a $5,000 fee to be evaluated as a center with no guarantee that they will be accepted into the program. After that, we charge a whopping $3,500 a year per center. That's it. This is not a quid pro quo. We want to support them, but we also want to make sure that we're covering our expenses as it relates to their directory listing, the materials that we send, etc. I will tell you that many other organizations put a couple zeros on the end of that. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure there are centers available for patients all over the country and hopefully someday the world. So this is where the program is now. Stay tuned for international expansion in 2024. And we're looking forward to doing a lot there. So this is the current map of our centers of excellence. And there's actually probably now over 75,000 individuals, but there was a problem with the slide, so I couldn't update it real quick. This is what it looks like today. We hope to add Alaska, Southern California, Northern California. No, I lied. Seattle. My God, I can't even think straight. So we're going to be adding Alaska, Seattle, and Southern California. There's another one we're going to be adding in there, hopefully by year's end. So stay tuned for more information on those programs. And we are really excited to have so many wonderful partners. These centers represent probably probably about 1,000 staff individuals when you start counting the physicians, the nurses, the medical assistants, the technologists, the administration from each one of these centers. This is a large network. And you can see that if you start looking at it as a hub and spoke model, the community cardiologist in the outlying area from each one of these dots can refer into a center. This is the dream, is creating a hub and spoke model so you can get great care close to home and not have to travel too far to get to HCMA recognized center of care level services. It's really important. So now we're going to hear from a couple of our centers.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jamil Tajik from Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Center of Excellence at Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am surrounded by my wonderful colleagues and you'll hear from them shortly. I just want to reiterate of what others have already said in this particular short videos, that we have come a long way in the journey of HCM. From one end, a disease in the earlier part of history was rare and highly lethal, to now a disease that's more common and compatible with normal lifespan, only if the patients are provided care at these centers of excellence for HCM. And we like to increase the awareness of this. The earliest the diagnosis, the best care can be provided at centers of excellence. Patricia, the co-director of the HCM clinic here, Center of Excellence.
Thank you, Dr. Tajik, for these pearls of wisdom. As Dr. Tajik has mentioned, we have come a long way across the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy spectrum. It is a common disease. It is a disease that we have a lot more therapeutic options for right now. We are participating with our patients here in shared decision-making when it comes to making those decisions in regards to further therapies. We have disease-specific therapies, cardiac myosin inhibitors, which have come out. The first in-class cardiac myosin inhibitor has been approved in April of 2022, which we're very excited about. We provide this to our patients in our clinic, as well as we have many other discussions in regards to other septal reduction therapies and more options that the patients may have currently.
Fuad?
Yes, thank you. And I think taking from that, not only awareness and cutting edge treatments that we have, we also participate in our scholarly activity and our research. We have a large database of HCM from which we have published many papers as well as abstracts. We have a Colton scholar here who is part of the HCM research, and we have wonderful staff and nurses. Amanda is our lead nurse here. So I think in all encompassing, we don't only have a center of excellence from a treatment and a therapeutic strategy and imaging specialists like Patricia, but also interventional strategies and at the same time, cutting edge research as well.
Very nice. Amanda, a few words?
It's really been a joy to work with the HCM population, especially with seeing the benefits of non-invasive therapies as it comes to mitigating symptoms with obstructive HCM. It has been a joy to partner with such wonderful physicians and nurse practitioners within this department to really reach all areas of patient daily activities, working with them as well as their families to help them live a better life.
This is a familial genetic disease, so it's not only a patient, but the entire family care is involved, and we provide that at the center, the whole spectrum from evaluation and diagnoses and genetic testing to advanced therapies, and now the most exciting development, the myosin inhibitors. So let's diagnose and manage them effectively, and the research by our star fellow here is going full blast, Dr. Zaid Aboud.
Hi everyone, I'm the Colton Scholar, honored to join this excellent HCM clinic, get the opportunity to work with my mentor here, mainly focusing on HCM research, advancing care for the patient to deliver better overall care.
Thank you, Lisa, for inviting us to say a few words to people in general and HCM community in particular. Thank you.
Greetings. I am Dr. Hasday, current director of the Inherited and Acquired Cardiomyopathy program at Advent Health in Orlando, Florida. Since 2010, we have enjoyed a close collaboration with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association and are happy to participate in the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Awareness Day. In the last 10 years, we have had a large growth of our program, offering all the multidisciplinary divisions to attend the needs of patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. In addition, we have embarked in a extensive educational program, both for clinicians and sonographers, to optimize the evaluation of patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. As far as 2023, we saw a growth in the utilization of myosin inhibitors with real good results from the real world. In 2024, we look to expand our cardiogenetics programs. We have now 2 geneticists joining our team, as well as 2 counselors. They are advising the patient in a critical need. For 2024, our goal is to participate in this large trial of a second myosin inhibitor. We're very excited to be part of that trial. Again, I thank the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association for the opportunity to participate in this program.
Hi, everyone. This is Shep Weiner, the medical director of the HCM program at Columbia University Medical Center, New York Presbyterian Hospital. We're excited here at Columbia to be participating in HCM Awareness Day 2024. This marks our 2nd year of partnering with the HCMA since we were recognized as a Center of Excellence back in 2022. It has been a great 2 years for us with the opportunity to immerse ourselves in some of the wonderful programming offered by the HCMA as we continue to expand our own HCM clinical, educational, and research enterprises at Columbia. It's such an exciting time to be part of the HCM community, given all the significant advances that are occurring. In 2024 at Columbia, we look forward to continuing to participate in clinical trials for cardiac myosin inhibitors and have plans to enter the gene therapy space as well. We hope 2024 is another great year that leads to further improvement in the quality of life of all of our hundreds of HCM patients, as well as the entire global HCM community.
On behalf of BMS and our entire cardiovascular team,
we're proud to recognize February 28th as HCM Awareness Day.
We want to express our appreciation to the HCMA and other organizations who work tirelessly to advocate for patients with HCM.
Our employees around the world work together for patients. You are at the center of everything we do.
You inspire us. You are the reason we come to work each day.
Our goal is to advance research for patients in need. We are working closely with those affected by HCM to expand our knowledge and help guide our development efforts.
We are applying key learnings and real-world experience to our efforts,
with the goal that future advancements are relevant to the diverse group of patients that we serve, as well as the needs of clinicians.
We value our work with the HCMA because they share our vision and sense of urgency to ensure people with HCM have access to the care, education, and research they need.
to all of the patients that are watching, we want to say,
we're working for you.
Together, we are committed to establishing a world with better outcomes for those living with HCM.
Oops. So this is the way the night's going to go. We're going to do a couple of sessions. I'm going to talk a little bit about different topics, and then we're going to hear from some of our partners. And that means our Center of Excellence partners and our industry sponsors. And we were really happy to see BMS get so innovative with their submission for this year's HCM Awareness Day. It was truly heartfelt, pun intended. So 2 weeks ago today, a group of us went to Capitol Hill. So for those of you who know me, when somebody asked last, I guess it was September, what are you going to do for HCM Awareness Day this year, Lisa? The original thought was, instead of doing this kind of a webinar, we would go to Capitol Hill and do our HCM Awareness Day on the Hill. Well, logistics didn't quite work out with the scheduling from the Capitol because they're on break right now. So on February 14th, a group of us met, yes, Valentine's Day and also National Donor Day, and we went door to door and invited members of Congress to come hear a briefing on the 15th. We gave them little candy boxes to be cute for Valentine's Day with a little invitation on the back, and we encouraged them to come learn about HCM. And I'm going to share with you some of the segments later on tonight that we recorded there, and the entire event is available on our YouTube channel. So I want to give a big thank you to everybody who volunteered their time. We have this great picture of all of us standing in front of the Capitol. We had a wonderful array of patients' experiences and clinician experiences to come share with the Hill. And the ask of the Hill is a big one. It's not legislatively difficult, but it's time that we start having these conversations at a higher level. So we are seeking that we have our legislative partners help us get HCM and heart health history questions added to the Welcome to Medicare exam, which is a federal level project. And if we can have them ask the right questions, it will tie in nicely to our state level initiatives of the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act, looking for HCM in children through the Well Child exam and pre-participation screening physicals. So the idea is to get to diagnosis sooner. We know that there are many patients out there that need this help, and this is why we decided to go to the Hill. So back in September, and I said, let's go to Capitol Hill and do a Hill Day. Boy, I didn't expect all of the work that went along with that to be so amazingly difficult to navigate, but we did it, and it took a team effort, and I'm really proud of the work that we did. So that was great. And what is our recap? We had 29 volunteers join us. We had other industry partners as well. We had 68 staffers attend our briefing, and then we sent the videotape of it all to other members that didn't get to join us. We made over 500 connections with staffers and members of the Hill, and we had 15 legislative meetings with individual offices. And then we're going to be doing some more follow-up. So we went with our cute little Ask Me About, genetic heart disease buttons, and we really did a great job in terms of getting the awareness that we were hoping for. And this picture is quite funny because we are literally in the middle of New Jersey Ave with the Capitol behind us, but the road was closed for a minute. So I literally dragged everybody out into the middle of the roads and I'm like, take a picture right now. So thanks to everybody who came to join us from near and far. We had people flying in from around the country, and we hope to do this next year and make it even bigger. So as soon as we secure a date, we will let you know when it is, and hopefully more of you can come join us on the Hill and help us raise awareness at a whole different level. So this is a segment that we recorded at the Hill visit, and you're going to hear a couple of these segments. And the reason why this one is well, they're all really important, but Amy Blair tells the story of her daughter, Jillian, lost to HCM. And it is the call to action for why we need to do more about understanding family heart health history and getting to the undiagnosed sooner. We can't wait. People are dying, and we need to be the voice to bring everybody's attention to these families so that we don't have any more unnecessary deaths. I do want to give a special shout out to Amy and her husband, Michael, who came all the way to join us in DC 2 weeks ago. Last night, a tree went through the roof at their house. So let's send some positive vibes out to the Blair family who's having a little bit of a challenge today. We're thinking of you guys. So without further ado, I want you to hear from Amy Blair.
Just hit the key and I'll take to the next slide. Thank you. Okay. So on February 15th, 2022, which is 2 years exactly today, my 17-year-old daughter, Jillian, and I, we walked into our family physician's office for her well child check. And while we were there, the doctor put her stethoscope onto Jill's chest, and she turned to me and she said, "When did Jill get this heart murmur?" And so that appointment led to us going to see a pediatric cardiologist in Des Moines. And from there, we had the diagnosis of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And those were severe and obstructed. They were still lingering in the air when we were waking up in Omaha, Nebraska to see specialists 1 week later. She went ahead and did a battering of tests. And then on Thursday, April 21st, 2022, the doctors were able to come back and give us our very last test result, which was her genetic test that she was positive for the MYBPC3 gene, which connects her to HCM. She came home from school that day. We went ahead and made an arrangement to see them on Monday and kind of get a plan of action. She came home an hour and a half later after I hung up the phone with the doctor, and I told her what they discovered. And she said, "Okay, that's about what I expected." She ran up the stairs where she had a sudden cardiac arrest. I was able to get up to the stairs within a minute or two. There was a lady who lived across the street who actually sold AEDs, so I had an AED on her within 2 minutes. But unfortunately, our efforts, the efforts of the EMS and the hospital staff were not successful, and we lost Jillian that day. So Jill was a very funny and outgoing girl. She loved music. She loved Harry Styles. He was her favorite. She loved art. She was really, really bad in algebra, and she wanted to be a designer one day. After Jill's death, it was like an explosion went off, and I started connecting dots within my family. And I talked to lots of families on my members of my paternal side, and I found out that we had a lot of similar heart problems. With the help of Omaha, we were able to get all of my siblings, all of my cousins tested, and we discovered that I had HCM. Half my siblings had HCM. 25% of my cousins had HCM. And from then, we now have many of us have ICDs and have had myectomies. We have also lost them. My brother has died in a surgery that was a valve surgery for an enlarged heart. My nephew has had 2 myectomies. My sister had a sudden cardiac arrest 5 months after my daughter died. And I just say that she died of a broken heart, since we're not ever sure exactly what it was. But my family is actually lucky because of Jillian, because she was our call to action. Because of her, my family has the power of knowledge to be able to fight against an invisible gene. But not all families are that lucky. But there is hope for them. Had there been questions that were in place when I took all of my girls to their well child checks that we were asked each time, so that in 2010 when my nephew had his first myectomy, or in 2015 when my brother had died on the surgical table from his HCM, maybe some of the doctors could have put it together that we needed to do a little bit more investigation. Or when my 91-year-old father, who had HCM, and that's how he went down to, he had a sudden cardiac arrest. But if he had gone into his Medicare first visit and was able to tell them that he had 7 siblings who died, all of cardiac arrests, maybe that would have been a trigger to have them look at us a little bit easier. If we had gotten the treatment earlier, I'm hoping, it would have been hopeful that she could have got diagnosed earlier, which would have led to earlier treatment and maybe would have saved Jill's life. And lastly, I am a nurse in Iowa, and I work at a family practice clinic. It would take me 5 extra seconds of my day to ask these questions to a patient, and that would help save thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and keep thousands of family intact and whole. I wish it wasn't me standing here, and I wish it wasn't my daughter. I wish it wasn't my family, and I wish it wasn't that I know the heartbreak that people go through. I wake up every day and I live a nightmare. But it is me, and it is my family, and it's my wish and my hope. And I wouldn't be standing here, and none of you would be hearing my voice if it wasn't for the life of a girl named Jillian Blair, and she had HCM.
The story that Jillian's mom tells is heartbreaking, but it's also a call to action for us all. Had we gotten to Jillian a little bit sooner, the world may have known this young designer or fashion, whoever she would have been. So the world is missing Jillian Blair, and we should be able to do better and ask the right questions at the right time to ensure that we can get to diagnosis. So thank you, Amy, for sharing that story. And whoops, here we go. So I want to talk to you all about our new state report cards. So you probably figured out that most people who are in the state legislature have a little bit of a competitive edge. They have to run for election every few years, and they always want to do well. They want to do good things for their constituents. At least we hope that they do. So what we've created is a report card that you can visit. It's right on the front page of our website, and you can see how well your state is doing in a couple of key areas. We're looking at HCM Day awareness proclamations, resolutions, and laws. That's an easy one. It's easy to champion. You want to get involved? We can put you in touch with Julie, our volunteer coordinator and legislative advocacy lead, and she can help you with those programs. We want to make sure that AED placement. Now, we know it's critically important to have AEDs everywhere. If you're in this community, you understand. But maybe it's not the first thing you think about when you're thinking about your HCM. But it's an easy thing to get in place in your states and make sure that your laws are making sure that AEDs are as available as a fire extinguisher. So, do you have AED placement laws in your state? What do they require? Are they required in schools, private schools, public schools, gyms and fitness centers, in public buildings? Where are they? If they're not there, you can make that happen. There's enough precedent around the country that every state should have good AED laws. They should also have CPR requirements for high school graduation. If we all learn how to do CPR in high school, we'll have a little bit of muscle memory, and in the event that we need to use it, we will know how to start the chain of survival. We want to make sure that there's good Samaritan laws in every state so that if you do interact with somebody while they're having a cardiac emergency, you as a first responder, a community member, are covered by Good Samaritan laws that will hold you harmless from liability. You can't undo that few moments. You have to act in those first few moments. Every minute that goes by when somebody's in cardiac arrest, we lose 10% chance of getting them back with a fully intact brain. So we want to make sure that we have good Samaritan laws in place. Then there are the elements of the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. Yes, it's HCM Act. So y'all can see where we came up with the name, but we want to make sure that every child has an opportunity to talk to their healthcare provider with their family about their family heart health history. We want to make sure all pre-participation screening protocols for student athletes are using the same standards. It used to be that each school district would set its own standards. We want state-based standards so that nobody can decide that their school doesn't want to look for certain things. So we want to make sure that we are getting systematic and scientifically accurate methods for detection. So there's a whole group of elements to the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. We've had it in New Jersey since 2015, and you're going to hear a story in a few minutes from a family who is a beneficiary of these programs. Additionally, we want to make sure that patients have access to care, and that means things like not having burdensome step therapy requirements, making sure that you take drug A, drug B, drug C before you can get a more expensive therapeutic available. So we want to make sure that we have good laws in place that make sure that the physician is guiding care. We want to make sure that the copay accumulator laws are supportive of patients not having to pay extra copays and deductibles on top of other copays and deductibles because they're trying to shift the cost to patients. We want to make sure that there's safe medical delivery of medications. We are living in a world that, whether you want to get political on this or not, temperatures are rising. And when your drugs are in transport from point A to point B, they're sitting in the back of very hot vehicles for much of the year. And when the temperatures are too high, it can actually have a bad effect on certain medications. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about these things as we're developing delivery systems for medications. And we also want to make sure that there's no non-medical switching. I don't know if anybody recalls or not, but about a year and a half ago, one insurance company decided that they only wanted to provide one anticoagulant to patients, and they wanted to switch everybody from one drug to another drug. That is the choice of you and your physician as to what drug is appropriate for you. So your insurance company or your pharmacy should not be able to switch you to a drug without your physician's consent and knowledge and the ability to get the drug that you need. So we all have to use our voices to make sure that we're getting what we need and that we have these laws behind us to support us. So we're going to need your help. It's going to take a village to change the laws in all 50 states and federally. And then we're going to have to get out into the international world and help them work on their laws as well. So that's the state report card. I hope you all take some time to go look at it. And hey, I'm realistic. We're not perfect. If you see something that we missed that is in your state and that we didn't give you credit for, please let us know. We have been quite diligent about this. We've had a number of interns and committee members working on collecting this data. But if we've missed something, we're not perfect. So make sure that you let us know. Next, I want to share a story with you, another one from the Hill. And you might have noticed while Amy Blair was speaking, there was a young man sitting next to her. That young man is Jared Butler, and he is currently a player for the Washington Wizards, a basketball team for those non-sporty people like myself. And Jared came to the Hill with us and shared his story of HCM, and we thought you would enjoy hearing it tonight. He's unable to be with us live this evening because, he's playing basketball. So without further ado, we're going to hear from Jared.
I'm Jared Butler, and I'm so excited, so fortunate enough to be here today. And for two reasons. Number one, y'all look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you, y'all look well dressed. I need to kind of step up my game. Number two, I just have a big heart. I mean that figuratively and literally. And from this big heart, I just kind of wanted to share my story and things that are important to me in hopes that they become super important to you. At around 18, I was walking into my Division I college basketball scholarship, and when a pre-play physical routine changed the course of my life. So much so that the college that I was walking into closed the door on me and closed the door on my college basketball career and medically disqualified me. And this routine physical led to the diagnosis of my hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I say it so well because I've said it so many times. But just like everyone else here, this diagnosis hit me like a truck. It hit me out of nowhere. I had no clue. I was a kid running every sprint, every suicide, doing all the extra work, every practice, every game. And without this routine physical, I would have gone undiagnosed and unaware of the state of my heart. And who knows, I wouldn't be here today speaking with y'all beautiful people. I wouldn't get this chance. I also wouldn't be here today without the treatment I received after my diagnosis from a doctor named Dr. Michael Ackerman, an elite cardiologist who helped me understand, grasp, and navigate my life with HCM. And so much so in such a way that with my HCM, my flavor, I was able to continue my basketball career and my dream. And to this day, I get to live out that dream of a 4-year-old working on his ball handling skills with the sock as an arm sleeve, counting down 10, 9, shooting a buzzer beater 3 from Reserve, Louisiana. You don't even know where that's at. And to play in the NBA. And it was because, and without this diagnosis and without treatment from a doctor who actually understood HCM, I would not have to live out this dream. So I'll leave you with this. HCM is a lifelong heart condition, though many people with HCM don't even know they have it. HCM is often misdiagnosed and can be difficult to diagnose because the symptoms are like symptoms of other conditions like dizziness, tiredness, shortness of breath. And HCM is also the most common genetic heart condition, so it might run in your family. My mom found out that she had the disease, had the condition after I found out I had mine. So I really appreciate that from her. And again, if anyone in your family has been diagnosed, I really, really encourage you to go speak with your doctor, just like I did. And again, these facts became really important to me, and I hope they become really important to you. And one of my favorite quotes you can see up there, motto I live by, is control what you can control. And I was able to get my HCM under control, and I hope everybody gets theirs under control too. So really thank y'all. Feels so heartwarming and special to be here with people and meeting people like you that just like touch my heart, and hearing stories of people that kind of went through the same thing. It's kind of like we're all bonded in such a unique way. So we're going to say thank you, and that's it.
I think Jared's story is amazing for a few reasons. As we all know, years ago, many of us were told when you had HCM, that was it for activity. We should sit down and be quiet. And now, because of the advances of so many pioneers in HCM, identifying high risk of sudden death and knowing when to implant a defibrillator and knowing how to manage and treat HCM and having good emergency preparedness available courtside or whatever the sport happens to be, we are now able to work with individuals to help them manage their life the way they want to with HCM. Now, we all may not make the same decisions, but that's what's beautiful. We can all make the decisions that are right for us and in concert with our clinical providers.
I'm Jared Butler.
So there we go. I told you every time we're going to do that. So now, wait, not yet,
Hi.
Andrew. Now we're going to hear from a couple of other centers, and then we're going to get into some conversations with some of our HCM experts in a few minutes. So now let's hear from Andrew Wang.
I'm Andrew Wong, and I'm the HCM Program Director at Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you for allowing us to participate in another HCM Awareness Day. Today, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who has been or is involved in clinical research in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Thanks to the dedication and efforts of investigators and study coordinators and the commitment of patients who are involved in these clinical studies, we have many more very good treatment options for patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and improving the outcome of this condition. I think we take for granted often that every time we give a recommendation or advice to a patient, that's really based on clinical studies that have been done previously in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Patients who are involved in clinical research, especially clinical trials, help us to provide better, stronger levels of evidence for treating this condition and improving the outcome for other patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Dr. Farhan Ahmed. I'm the director of the HCMA Center of Excellence here at the University of Iowa. And I'm going to be joined shortly by one of our great team members, nurse practitioner Katie Haldmeyer. And I have the honor of working with a great team of professionals, including nurse professionals, genetic counselors, and physicians from all across different specialties, including, of course, cardiology, all of whom are really dedicated to the care of patients and families with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And I'd also like to say that it's really an honor to continue to work with the HCMA and collaborate with them. We've been collaborating basically for about 2 decades across 2 different institutions during my career, and it's always a pleasure to be part of any HCMA event. I'm going to be asking Katie to come on right now and tell us what we think is the most important sort of progress that has happened in HCM in the past year.
One of our successes in the past year was growing our experience with myosin binding inhibitors, both by enrolling patients in clinical trials and by prescribing mavacamten for FDA-approved indications. If patients with HCM have high gradients and poor symptom control despite traditional therapies, we'll have an in-depth conversation of potential next steps, including the risks and benefits of these medications. If started, we will perform echocardiograms every 4 to 12 weeks. We talk with patients either over the phone or in person after each echo. We then communicate results through a drug monitoring program, and a specialty pharmacy will mail patients their medication. As an example, one of our patients had gradients up to 100, with ideal being less than 30, and he had chest pain and shortness of breath with a flight of stairs. After starting mavacamten, his gradients are now less than 30, and he is doing moderate intensity exercises and feeling well.
All right, well, thanks so much, Katie. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we think are some of the new advances that are going to be happening in the HCM field in the next year and probably the next few years. As you probably know, the University of Iowa has a very, very strong basic science tradition and translational science tradition. And I myself am a basic scientist as well as a clinician. And as a basic scientist, I've had the pleasure in participating in the development of novel therapies in HCM, even before they moved into the clinical trials, including drugs such as mavacamten that, in fact, we're now using in the clinic, as you just heard. And we are continuing to work not just in my own laboratory, but across the world, really, in different centers, in finding new strategies to cure and treat HCM, often using animal models and other tissue model systems, including, as you see here, using mouse models, genetically engineered mice that we've been using for decades. And more recently, we have been the first to study the use of genetically engineered pigs of HCM as well, and have been developing different therapeutic strategies using these models. So, for example, some of the strategies that we've been using very recently include the idea of using sort of gene replacement therapy. So in this situation, we have a virus that has the normal copy of the gene that is then going to infect the heart muscle cell and really basically kind of overwhelm the abnormal protein with normal protein and thereby sort of cure HCM. Another approach is to use the gene silencing method, where we actually put in a little molecule in the virus that silences or stops the abnormal gene from being expressed. A third method is something called exon skipping, where we actually introduce a molecule that causes the abnormal part of the gene to be skipped over. And so you produce a protein that is a little shorter than normal, but basically functions normally. And finally, probably the holy grail approach is to actually go in and edit out the error in the gene, in the DNA of the heart muscle cell. And so all these approaches are in fact being used already in trials in different conditions in human patients. And I think that really, even though we thought this was all science fiction, in the next year or two or three, we'll probably start translating some of this into clinical trials in patients with HCM as well. So it really is an exciting time to be in the field, and there's a lot of great things that are going to be coming along. So finally, I'd just like to say it's a pleasure again to participate in HCM Awareness Day and to continue to collaborate with the HCMA. And I just urge everybody to get informed about HCM so that we can make a difference in lives and in quality of life of all our patients. Thank you.
Hello, HCM warriors. My name is Ahmed Nasri. I'm a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy specialist at Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon. It's great to be here, part of the HCMA Awareness Day for Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy, which happens to be in February. It's the Heart Disease Awareness Month. It is great to be part of this amazing community and taking care of patients like yourself. Thanks to you for all of your engagement and for the HCMA led by Lisa Solberg for all the work that they do to continue put HCM front and center in many different stages. My message this year is that I do think that education continues to be our most important tool to counter the disease and counter the underdiagnosis of the disease and the delayed diagnosis of the disease. So continue to push on that front. We're all in it together. You talk to your people surrounding you, talk to your physicians about this. If you get a delayed diagnosis, it's not a bad idea to actually reach out and say, hey, eventually I got diagnosed with this condition. And my second message is stay well informed. Things are happening in the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy space. We are working very hard to continue to find more options for treatment for patients with HCM. So stay active, stay informed, and educate people around you. And looking forward to a very productive year as well.
Imagine what we can do when we do it together. A team of hundreds working as one for more than 25 years, testing the limits of science, pushing the boundaries, making the unknown, well, known. We analyze, scrutinize, and challenge the status quo of muscle biology-directed therapies. Imagine a company driven by a shared mission, by an unwavering commitment to patients. This is science fueled by heart. This loyalty to our vision, perseverance, and endurance comes from knowing that with every step forward, a better tomorrow may be possible for patients. Their fight is our fight. Their success is our success. Patients are at the root of everything we do as we work to change the future of debilitating diseases impacting muscle function. And we're humbled by the task at hand. Imagine the frontier of a new dawn with potential muscle-directed medicines bringing hope for a brighter future. But we don't have to imagine any of this, because this is the reality we're creating together today.
Another great video from one of our great partners. And now we're going to look at a video that HCMA created on some of the future therapies that might be coming. Some of you may have already seen this, but we thought we would add it in today.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a heart condition that runs in families. It affects 1 in 250 people. HCM is caused by genetic mutations in DNA. These typically cause the heart walls to thicken and become stiff. We know more than ever about the genetic mutations that cause HCM and how they impact families. And these days, genetic testing is easy, affordable, and accurate. So far, genetic mutations have been identified in about 40% of those with HCM. And once we can identify the genetic mutation, this information can be used to identify other family members at risk. And thanks to major recent breakthroughs, this can lead to targeted genetic therapies. So how does gene therapy work? Gene therapy introduces healthy proteins into the body that can correct the genetic error. Preliminary results in animal studies have shown that it allows hearts to relax and contract more normally. Today, some mutations are closer than others to being treated with gene therapies, and clinical trials are needed to investigate how these therapies will work in real people. Volunteers will be needed for trials. Together, we are advancing HCM treatment options. Visit 4hcm.org to learn more. The Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association, serving the HCM spectrum disorder community since 1996.
All right, we like that one. We could tell you some funny stories about how that last scene got edited. The first one we saw, it looked like the dog was chasing the man. We had to have them change that one. So we have some fun while we're creating this work too. There we go. So now I'm going to bring to the stage Dr. Martin Marin and Dr. Andrew Wang, who are going to talk a little bit with you in a very different way. We're going to be a bit more conversational here about HCM management 2024, what you need to know. And we're welcoming them both to the stage. And I thank you both for joining me tonight. Happy HCM Awareness Day. Are you here?
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks for coming tonight, guys. So we've got, about 130 people with us live, and this is streaming through Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and will live for a while. So I think it's really important to kind of set the stage with the date. So it's February of 24. The world is evolving. And what I thought we would do is take a slide that we show frequently here at the HCMA, and that's kind of the pathways of disease and what could happen in the HCM space, and just kind of talk about some highlights that you as clinicians think are important for patients and families, and maybe physicians who don't see HCM every day like you guys do, what they might want to be thinking about. So let's start with somebody who's gene positive or maybe hasn't been very symptomatic and is just kind of flying under the radar there with HCM. What did these individuals need to know in 2024? Who wants to start? I'll voluntold somebody if you don't say. I'll start. Okay, we're going to start with Andrew. What does an asymptomatic gene positive person need to know in 24?
Thanks, Lisa, and thank you for inviting me to join tonight. I think that patients who undergo genetic testing as part of what we call cascade testing, meaning a family member has already been diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy because they have sort of shown signs of heart muscle thickening or symptoms of it, and they have a positive genetic test result that leads to testing of immediate family members. That's really the situation that you're talking about. I think the most important thing that patients should know is that there is a highly variable rate of penetrance. What we mean by that is that patients can be genotype positive, carry a gene for many years before they show any signs of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and that their disease, if you want to call it that, or their condition may be very different from their immediate family members because of other genetic factors and environmental factors that lead to big differences, even in the same family with the same gene mutation. So I've diagnosed patients, very late in life, in their 60s, with still no evidence of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And we, as best we know now, consider those patients, if they have no evidence of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and no symptoms, to be very low risk for any of the adverse pathways shown on the slide below. So that's what I would start by saying.
Marty, anything to add on the gene positive or phenotype minimal or negative patients?
No, just to reaffirm what Andrew was saying, reassurance for patients that are gene positive who don't express the disease in terms of evidence of increased wall thickness. That is a situation in which, for many of those patients, they will never express the disease. And two, that even if they don't express the disease, there's no evidence that they're at risk for any adverse complications just because they carry the gene. So I think reassurance is the theme there for sure still today.
Fantastic. So Marty, I'm gonna leave it with you to start with the sudden cardiac arrest pathway and those who are at high risk. What do we know about the high risk phenotype in HCM in 2024?
Yeah, I'll just make a couple comments first. So on this slide too, and then I'll get to specifically addressing that. So just to to make a couple points first. These are big concept points again, and I think you mentioned it, but basically, it's important to kind of reaffirm that the vast majority of patients they get diagnosed with the HCM, that have a clinical diagnosis of HCM, the vast majority of them will go through life without really any complications or significant complications related to their disease, including many who will remain asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic and will require, for that reason, either no or minimal in therapeutic intervention. Okay, that's the top of I think the slide here. That's really important. We sometimes lose sight of that, but that's a really important point. And for those patients, life expectancy, is also considered to be normal or near normal as well. So with that said, of course, there are, I think, what we would consider to be kind of subgroups of patients with HCM who through life may be at risk, though, for one or more adverse complications. And that's kind of what you're showing here at the bottom of the slide, or the bottom half of the slide. There are a number of different possible adverse risks that patients with HCM could experience. And that includes abnormal rhythms that could be life-threatening, progressive symptoms, including those that develop severe symptoms, what we call severe refractory or end-stage heart failure, and then atrial fibrillation and stroke. Those are the pathways, those are the adverse pathways that patients could potentially be at risk for with HCM. And I think before addressing your specific point about sudden cardiac death, I think the point, and I think it's really the major point here, is that in 2024, for those patients with HCM that may experience or be at risk for one of those adverse complications, we have a number of different therapeutic interventions that can be very effective at providing those patients the opportunity to achieve the two most important goals, which is normal or near normal life expectancy with a great quality of life. So great quality of life. And those therapies are listed in gray below, addressing each of the potential therapeutic or adverse pathways that you have here. And so that's really important. And that kind of gets to what I think is one of the really major important themes for HCM today, is that it's a treatable, I think consider highly treatable disease today in 2024, and becoming even more treatable as we move forward, as you've already kind of alluded to and discussed already today with the advancements that we have and will be coming along. In terms of sudden death risk, and then I'll turn it over to Andrew. I mean, in terms of sudden cardiac death risk, I think we've gotten to a point where we have a very kind of mature, well, first of all, let me just say it's a very small number of patients that are at risk for sudden cardiac death, which is an abnormal rhythm from the bottom chamber that often occurs out of the blue. And then if it does, it's very fast, causing patients to lose consciousness. And if it doesn't stop, or a patient doesn't get shocked out of that, can be life-threatening. And it's very small number of patients, fortunately, that are at risk for that with HCM. And I think we have, over the last couple of decades, really developed a very mature, what we call risk stratification strategy, where we rely on a number of different markers in a patient's profile. These are results of tests or different evidence in their clinical profile that can help us to determine if that individual patient could be at risk in the future of a life-threatening rhythm. And if we think that risk is in fact high enough, that's when we get into discussions about protecting that patient from sudden death with device therapy, which is the ICD therapy, implantable cardio defibrillator, that you see below. And that strategy, as well as the treatment, has been very effective at lowering the sudden death event rate in HCM over the last 2 decades significantly. We've made huge progress, I think, in that area. And that's another example of the disease being treatable or adverse complications preventable here with our current strategies.
Fantastic. And I can't talk about sudden death prevention and HCM without giving a shout out to the big guy, the chief, Barry Marin, for all of his groundbreaking work in identifying not only risk factors, but thinking to bring the ICD to the HCM arena. So shout out to your dad, and thanks, Barry, for all you've contributed to HCM. Andrew, any thoughts on this bullet before we move to the next?
I would On sudden cardiac death, no, I would agree with what Marty said completely. I would echo your shout out to both Dr. Barry Marin and Marty in terms of their work. Really, our understanding of these different adverse pathways in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy come really from decades of their work to really focus us, I would say, on what are the issues that we need to be improving in patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I would say the only thing I would add to about the risk of sudden cardiac death, and I think you mentioned this earlier, it really is a shared decision making. When we talk to a patient and try to estimate their risk, it is just that. It is an estimate. We cannot say for certain that a patient is ever going to need their defibrillator. We're just trying to estimate that they are at higher risk than the average person of their age in the US population. And we're trying to lower that risk to a, quote, norm of the US patient population. But as you said before, patients, after understanding what a defibrillator is, may or may not agree that that fits their life goals, their quality of life, what they want. I just had a discussion on Monday of with a patient who we talked to, and they're still thinking about it. It's very contemplative. So I think that shared decision making is a term that we use really across any type of intervention, and it should be expanded to when we talk about drug therapy as well, because there are options, as pointed out in the gray boxes. It's not one size fits all. There are options, and that's really where the importance of shared decision making, where the patient really is informed of all the advantages and disadvantages of each option and chooses the one that's right for their life.
Thanks. Now let's talk a little bit about obstructive HCM. So if anybody's been near a television lately, they've heard about obstructive HCM through a lot of commercials on disease awareness and the drug specific. But we've been talking about obstruction for a lot longer than we've been talking about myosin inhibitors. So can we talk a little bit about 2024 decision making to manage obstructive HCM? This one I'll have Andrew start, and then Marty will comment at the end.
So you highlight there the different options when we talk about a patient with symptomatic obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I think, as most people on this meeting know, what we define as a patient with obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is someone who has a left ventricular outflow tract gradient of 30 millimeters of mercury or more, either at rest or with provocation. Patients with obstruction are definitely much more likely over time to develop heart failure symptoms. Heart failure is a term that we're stuck with. It does not mean that the heart is getting weaker or that the heart is failing. It simply describes the complex of symptoms and signs in a patient who has sort of poor filling of their heart or poor forward blood flow from their heart, even when their heart is, if anything, stronger than a normal heart. So it's a bad term that we're stuck with in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, because most patients don't develop reduced ejection fraction or systolic heart failure. I would also, I think, refocus it a little bit on impaired quality of life. That really is what we're talking about. We talk about shortness of breath as a symptom of heart failure, but really we're talking about impaired quality of life, and how do we improve that quality of life, again, to the level that a patient would like. And people have different goals. Many people say, well, I just want to be able to, play with my grandchild or go for a walk and not stop along the way. And other people say, I really would like to participate in higher level of physical activity. And what are their goals and how do we get there? So we obviously start with drug therapy because it's not invasive. There are sort of class 1, what we call therapies for obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy that are based on level of evidence that we know that they will improve heart failure symptoms, quality of life, reduce left ventricular outflow tract obstruction. I won't go into the specific ones per se, but obviously everyone, like you said, has seen the commercials for the newest one that's available, which is a myosin inhibitor, which reduces contractility of the heart muscle and therefore reduces left ventricular outflow tract obstruction very, very effectively, but does carry the risk of reducing left ventricular ejection fraction to below a normal level. For patients who are either still symptomatic on medical therapy or who decide that they do not want to continue adding medical therapy for their symptoms, there are invasive treatments that are grouped under the term septal reduction therapies, including surgical myectomy, which has been around now for almost 70 years as a very effective treatment of obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and alcohol septal ablation, which was described in 1996 as ways to physically reduce the thickness of the septum in the left ventricular outflow tract. Fortunately, that all of these options are effective. And so there are reasons why we would consider one versus the other for the patient, obviously surgery being the most invasive, but each of them have their downsides as well. So that's where we sort of talk about the pros and cons of each.
Marty, anything to add on the obstructed patients?
No, I think that was really well said. And I think Andrew covered that really well. Maybe we, in the interest of time, you want to move on to the advanced heart failure group for a minute?
You can take the lead on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just mention here, this is the third sort of pathway here in green. These are patients, these are non-obstructive HCM patients that develop symptoms and sometimes severe symptoms that limit their ability to have any kind of good quality of life. And, you know, I think that it's probably fair to say that for this group of patients, this represents perhaps maybe the biggest unmet treatment need in the disease today, because as you can see in the gray below, we just don't have as many good options, drug or otherwise, than we do, for example, with the obstructive patients that Andrew just took you through in terms of options, which there are many, and all of them are very good for those patients. In the non-obstructive symptomatic, you know, we've got, you know, much less, and that's an area of real active interest right now in terms of developing new therapies for this group of patients to provide them the opportunity that the obstructives have, which is the chance to have a much better quality of life by reducing symptoms and improving quality of life. And so I think with that said, I think, you know, we're, enthusiastic about the current initiatives that are going on here right now with looking at the myosin inhibitor drugs now being kind of sort of looked at investigatively, meaning in a clinical trial way, in the non-obstructive patients to see if they have the opportunity to provide a similar degree of symptom improvement and functional improvement in terms of exercise that they did with the obstructive HCM patients, at least mavacamten did so far in that group. And so those trials, which I think we're going to get to in a minute, are just beginning, and we're looking forward to hopefully learning more about the potential of those drugs, as well as other therapies coming down the pipe there that will hopefully be able to provide the opportunity for different treatment options like the obstructive patients have. For those right now, though, I'll just one last thing. For those patients with non-obstructive HCM that do develop severe, limiting symptoms that is not improved with drug therapy, the only real long-term option in those patients is heart transplant, which can be very effective. I think somebody on this call right now could speak to that, but can be very effective, but obviously is complex and challenging, particularly in many patients. And so that's one more reason why we need, again, better effective therapies to prevent patients from even getting to that point.
I'm going to take a moment here and go back on two items, and then we'll go to AFib and stroke. Number one, I want to go back and recognize in the obstructive conversation, we talked about how long surgery has been available. And I can't go through an HCM Awareness Day without bringing Andrew Glenn Morrow to the stage, who is the man who created myectomy and also had HCM himself. It's a little known fact that the man that created the surgery that many of you had actually was an HCM patient and has an extraordinary family story. And I would encourage you to read up on that sometime. And just props out to the members of the Morrow family who we're still in contact with today. Unfortunately, his daughter has passed away, and she had a transplant from HCM. And I still do speak to some members of the family, so always want to keep some of our history present. And also, I want to acknowledge that transplant is an option for some of us, and about 5% of us will go that path. Hopefully, as time progresses and we're better at managing HCM with new and therapeutic options like myosin inhibitors or maybe gene therapy, it won't be that many of us needing transplant. But for those of you who need it, I'm here 7 years after the fact to tell you it is a very reasonable option for some. And I just found out that one of my very first clients from 1996, her granddaughter is being worked up tomorrow for a transplant. And we wish her all the best. And that family knows who I'm talking to. 3 generations of HCM. And in the last generation, all with HCM had to go to transplant. So it is a viable option for many. And I just want to keep that out there so that people don't see it as doom and gloom and end of road. I'm here to tell you that you can live with a transplant a really long time. So that being said, let's talk about atrial fibrillation and stroke. And there's been a big question in the community lately about the role of watchmen in HCM as opposed to anticoagulation therapy. And I'm hoping that you guys can handle that. Who wants to take the lead here? Andrew, are you up to bat?
Yes, thanks, Lisa. As Marty said, there are high-level clinical trials studying drug therapies for patients with both obstructive and non-obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. We need more of those for studying novel therapies in atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation can have a very negative impact on the quality of life and also longevity of patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, either obstructive or non-obstructive. Unlike most situations where atrial fibrillation occurs in the older population in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it can be one of the earliest symptoms and presenting symptoms and a very difficult to manage symptom because we just have limited options in effective drug therapies and ablation. The American Heart Association, American College of Cardiology have recently updated their guidelines for management of atrial fibrillation, and there is sort of a greater recommendation or stronger recommendation for earlier rhythm control, which means trying to maintain sinus rhythm because of the adverse long-term effects of atrial fibrillation. I can't say that we know how effective that would be in patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, although we all know that it would significantly improve their quality of life. So we just need more data on best therapies for atrial fibrillation. With regard to your question about stroke prevention due to atrial fibrillation, we do not use the standard risk estimate for stroke in patients who have what we call non-valvular atrial fibrillation. If a patient has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and atrial fibrillation, we consider them a high-risk group just for having hypertrophic cardiomyopathy without some of the other risk factors. And an anticoagulant is a class 1 recommendation, specifically a direct oral anticoagulant rather than a vitamin K antagonist. For your question about Watchman, so Watchman is one of a few different types of left atrial appendage occluder devices that will occlude the most common location for a clot or thrombus to form in the left atrium in a patient with atrial fibrillation that could lead to a stroke. Again, we do not have clinical trials about how effective that is. I think it's also important to mention that in patients who have a history of atrial fibrillation that are undergoing surgical myectomy, left atrial appendage clipping or ligation or oversewing can be performed with the similar goal of closing off the appendage to reduce the risk of intracardiac thrombus or blood clot that could put a patient at risk for stroke.
Fabulous. Okay, we're going to get into some clinical trial information now. Now, we talked about what we're doing to treat HCM today, and there's a number of trials that are under development and in process. Some have been completed. There are a number of different providers of these trials, but I want to talk about the one I find most exciting to announce today because we haven't gone public on this one yet. But earlier this month, the first clinical trial in a myosin inhibitor in the adolescent population was posted, and recruitment will begin shortly. This is for mavacamten in those 12 to 17 years of age who meet the obstructed qualification, so they have a gradient of 30 or greater, and they are symptomatic. And we are going to be starting to recruit patients from around the world in the next couple of weeks or months. It's going to be slow coming on. Each program has to contract and takes a little while to get this going. But there have been a number of families who have been really interested in using a myosin inhibitor in their adolescent kids. Once we get the 12 to 17, maybe it will have a role earlier, maybe it won't. We don't know yet. It's a trial, but I think it's really exciting that we're opening a pediatric trial to be engaging in the myosin inhibitor space. And hopefully we'll learn a lot more by this time next year, and we can report on it then. But it's going to take some time to get this data together. So that's just kind of an announcement. And I know that there are a number of people really interested in getting signed up. If you have a child between 12 and 17 and you're interested in learning about where these sites are going to be open, just call the office, talk to Linda. You saw her at the beginning of the presentation, and we can put you on a short list that when we know a site is opening up in your area, we can let you know. So that's kind of an interesting new development that is kind of late breaking news. So thanks for that. So Andrew, you want to start talking a little bit about some of the myosin inhibitor trials? And I did purposely put a trial in here that's not HCM specific, but it's HFpEF. And I think some of the HFpEF people may actually be HCM people, but we don't really know that yet. So heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, which can look a little bit like HCM, but maybe not. So you want to talk about the two trials on the screen right now?
Yeah, sure. So everyone knows that mavacamten or Camzyos is a first-in-class cardiac myosin inhibitor that is approved and labeled for treating patients with symptomatic obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy to improve New York Heart Association class, exercise capacity, quality of life. It is also being studied in other forms of heart failure. Obviously, the next one that, as Marty pointed out, really is in need of additional medical therapy is the non-obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy group that's being studied in the phase 3 Odyssey HCM trial. That trial has now closed to enrollment across many international sites. And the readout should be early 2025, with the primary endpoint being improvement of quality of life, as well as change in baseline peak oxygen consumption on a cardiopulmonary exercise test after 48 weeks of blinded treatment with mavacamten or placebo. There is a small phase 2 trial of mavacamten in patients with heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, with the theory that the cardiac myosin inhibitors can improve left ventricular diastolic dysfunction in patients with HFpEF, and really the same theory that it will improve exercise capacity and symptoms in patients with non-obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So again, it's a phase 2 study, meaning just looking for some clinical signal as well as evaluating the safety of this in a small number of patients.
Fantastic. So we know that many of you know that we were working with BMS on the recruitment for Odyssey. And as we were told a couple of weeks ago, they are putting a number of people through the screening process, and they are not taking any new patients at this time. If they reopen the trial, if they don't get enough, we will let you know. But we are really happy to work with them on that project and look forward to working with them on others in the future. And thank you to everybody who answered the surveys and said that they were interested. If you did not get a call, you're going to have another opportunity for a different trial coming up very soon. So stay tuned. All right. So Cytokinetics has a lot of trials that are underway or that have been completed. And I kind of put one slide together for them. And then we're going to do some breakouts here because they do not have, Cytokinetics does not yet have a labeled indication drug. They are strictly in trial. They have not gone to the FDA for a label yet, which basically means it's not available to the public. It's only available through clinical trial. This is a different myosin inhibitor. And Marty, you're very involved with these projects. So I was hoping you could walk us through some of the information on Sequoia. And then we have a couple of other slides on some of the other trials and let people know what these trials are all about and where they might still be able to get involved in some of them.
Sure.
And thank you for double tasking with being a dad tonight and providing this session. Hello, Willow.
Hello, Willow. Right there. Okay. Yeah. So just to back up, I'm not sure everybody knows exactly what we may be talking about here, but just to be clear, the Cytokinetics initiative is about the next generation myosin inhibitor called aficamten, which differs from mavacamten. One, the mechanism is generally the way it works as a drug is generally similar to mavacamten. The difference mostly has to do with some of the pharmacologic properties of aficamten versus mavacamten. And so it's being investigated, aficamten is, in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy in a number of different populations, as you just showed on the prior slide. And one of those populations is symptomatic obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And that investigation of aficamten in those patients was a clinical trial called Sequoia HCM, which was a phase 3 clinical trial, which had as an endpoint to determine the efficacy of the drug a exercise test called peak VO2, and also had a number of different secondary endpoints that measured things like how much better patients felt and other parameters as well. And this trial has been completed. It's finished, which is very exciting. And some of the very kind of what we call top line results were put in the public domain for this trial at the end of last year. And I think you're showing these right here, which basically demonstrate that aficamten given to symptomatic obstructive patients made a big difference in helping those patients improve their exercise capacity. That's the peak VO2, significant improvements in that measure, as well as meeting all of the improvements in all of the 10 kind of secondary endpoints that were evaluated, including, again, important measures of how patients feel with the questionnaires and the NYHA classes, measures of that. Those were significantly improved as well with aficamten. And also, very importantly, to the right of the slide, aficamten was demonstrated to be really very, very safe and well tolerated. The adverse complications or events, what are called AEs, were no more frequent with aficamten compared to patients that were on a placebo or sugar pill. And then very importantly as well, one of the important metrics of the myosin inhibitors is its effect on decreasing the heart pump function, what we call systolic function, which is the measure being the left ventricular ejection fraction with a kind of bar of less than 50%, raising concerns about safety when that happens. And that occurred very, very infrequently with aficamten, only 5 patients as you're showing here, which is very, very low. And none of those patients that did experience that low ejection fraction on aficamten, none of them had symptoms at that time of heart failure. And none of them had to have their dose of aficamten stopped or interrupted because of that low systolic function event. So that's all very, I think, in many ways, very encouraging as well. So summary, aficamten, next generation myosin inhibitor, looked at so far in a completed study of symptomatic obstructive patients, showing very good efficacy in improving how patients feel and function. And again, very good overall safety profile.
Great. Now let's move on to one of their other trials. Let's look at Maple HCM. So can you tell us where we are with this study?
Yeah, Maple's again a phase 3, just means it's one of the more advanced clinical trial. It's in more advanced clinical trial investigation. Again, same drug. It's aficamten, and this is a really interesting study. This is looking at aficamten as the initial therapy for patients with symptomatic obstructive HCM versus kind of the standard, starting first with a beta blocker, metoprolol. And so kind of similar patient population as Sequoia and Explorer, symptomatic obstructive HCM patients who then get randomized to either aficamten or metoprolol, who haven't been on any therapy before that, and then again are followed for many weeks. And then at the end of the trial, they're reevaluated in terms of how they feel and function with those similar kind of measures that we've been talking about before, to determine a comparison of efficacy between starting first with aficamten versus starting first with beta blocker.
Great. And Acacia.
Yeah, so
I
this
like their trees.
Yeah, trees is the theme. There's no question about that, which is kind of cool. And so these are all California trees, by the way. Cytokinetics is a biotech company that's based in San Francisco. So this is similar to what Andrew was just talking about with Camzyos and the Odyssey trial, which is, as he said very well, the study looking at mavacamten in non-obstructive HCM. A sort of parallel kind of study is Acacia, which is again another phase 3 investigation looking at aficamten in non-obstructive HCM patients, which has just begun, starting to enroll. So this trial has begun at many sites. Not all of them are up and running yet, but many are. And again, similar to what Andrew said about the Odyssey trial, this is a kind of a similar type of study where patients get randomized with non-obstructive HCM, symptomatic non-obstructive HCM, to either aficamten or placebo. And again, followed for certain periods of time to reassess how the drug is making patients feel and function, as well as other measures compared to placebo, to determine its role and efficacy as well as safety in the non-obstructive population as well.
Okay. And then the big question I keep getting is, well, when will we have an option between our myosin inhibitors? And this is kind of a look at aficamten's clinical development plan.
Yep.
And that purple star at the end is, I think, what everybody's kind of got their eye on.
Yeah, I think you've got that purple star is just kind of representing the possible time frame, I think, for when, I think you're sort of referring to when Cytokinetics goes to the FDA to see if they can achieve approval for aficamten in first obstructive HCM. And I don't know what that time frame will exactly look like at this point. Obviously, that clinical trial is over, and the top line data I showed you were very encouraging. So I think that things are probably moving in that direction, but I don't know the time frame.
I have heard some rumors that may be late this year. So we will see when that happens, but hang in there. When we have late breaking news, we will surely bring it to you. So let's take a pivot to a very, very early study. I don't know what you guys know about this one, so maybe I'll chime in a little bit with a new company called Edgewise, which has some history in some of the other myosin inhibitor companies. Some of the staff is the same. And this is a different concept on a myosin inhibitor. And they're going into healthy subjects at this point. So it's very, very early days, but it's in the pathway for discovery. I just thought it deserved some mention tonight that there are other companies involved in this space, and Edgewise is one of them. And then we're going to kind of pivot to what I teased before in the whiteboard, and that is genetic therapies. So for those of you who have a myosin binding protein C mutation in your family, there is a trial that is, we've dosed the first patient. You may have heard about it because we shouted it from the rooftops when the first patient was dosed with a gene therapy in HCM in October, which happened to coincide with the Heart Failure Society meeting in Cleveland and the HCM Society meeting in Cleveland and the first gene therapy in Cleveland. There was a lot going on in Cleveland in October. And we've got one patient dosed, a couple of others maybe in the wings waiting. But what do you guys think about this milestone moment in HCM in 2023? Who wants to speak up first?
I'll start, I guess, and just say it's very exciting. I guess I'll go back to say you pointed out earlier that about 40% of patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy have what we call a pathogenic variant in a gene that's known to cause hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And myosin binding protein C is one of the two most common genes to cause hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So it counts for a lot of patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So to think that patients who have had a life where they, are having a lot of symptoms from their hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that there may be a way to, quote, reverse some of those genetic effects is very, very exciting. This is a phase 1 study, so I guess I'll pump the brakes a little bit to say that we just need to see if it's safe and can actually lead to a higher concentration of normal myosin binding protein C. So myosin binding protein C is somewhat unique among the different genetic causes of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy because it leads to a deficiency in the amount of the myosin binding protein C in the cardiac cells. And that deficiency of myosin binding protein C basically releases a brake in the sarcomere that leads to increased contractility in the cells. So the idea is that with more normal protein, a higher concentration of normal myosin binding protein C, that it would help to regulate the cardiac sarcomere better.
So this is an ongoing trial. It's early days. It's exciting, but it's early and we don't know where it's going to go yet. So this is a little bit of information on what this gene therapy looks like. And we're going to all be watching very closely with the hopes that maybe this will have some promise for some families with this particular mutation. And these are some of the concept patient, well, not more than concept. So we have some data from mouse models and from other animal studies that this looks promising, but it is still very early. But we wish all good things to those who are trying to solve our problems, and hopefully this will be a promising therapy for some. So Marty, I'm going to flip and let you talk a little bit about this slide from our friends at BioMarin, who are also working in the space of HCM, but it's very, very early days, similar concept to gene therapy. Anything you want to say about what they're working on?
Yeah, I think I think they're coming along, as well as a different company with a slightly different kind of strategy in terms of delivery of gene therapy. But the general concept, is similar to what you just talked about in terms of Tenaya. And obviously we're not we don't have the time to get into the differences, which are complicated, but generally the same principal idea here in terms of delivery of therapy from a gene therapy standpoint with BioMarin, which is really exciting that we're going to have kind of multiple different companies with their different strategies in play here for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And I know BioMarin's getting close to beginning as well here. And so I think we got a lot more to come, really soon. And I'll just echo, though, I think what Adrian said in terms of the pumping the brakes. I think, and I think you referred to this as well, Lisa, is that this, I think, as opposed to maybe the drug therapies that we've been talking about, I think the gene therapies are going to take a long time, for us to really understand exactly, the important issues about safety and efficacy and who the right patients are and so forth. This is going to be a slower kind of, I think, more, thoughtful, time-consuming process, so to speak, investigation than maybe some of the other examples that have come before with drug therapy. And so everyone, I think, is excited, but I think it's going to take time.
I think we all have to have some excitement, and I think we all have to have a lot of patience, and it's going to take a long time to figure all this out. So I encourage you to stay tuned for more. I want to thank Drs. Wang and Marin for joining us this evening. This has been a very informative session, and we're going to move on to some other content right now. So I thank you both for joining us tonight. We'll let you go on to be dad now, Marty, and you can put the dad hat on. And Andrew, you can go do whatever it is that you need to do tonight. Thank you both for joining us on HCM Awareness Day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, Marty.
Hey, Andrew. Yep.
All right. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about, you see, I kind of peeked on my own slide there, the Lori Fund. And I mentioned earlier in the presentation that you'd be able to donate to different campaigns. And tonight, if you would like to scan this code, you can apply for the Lori Fund, or you can visit the website and make a donation directly to the Lori Fund. The Lori Fund operates a little bit differently than a general donation because those funds are segregated, and we provide scholarships for patients traveling to HCMA Recognized Center of Excellence Care, or a transplant program, or hospice care support, and also for funeral expenses to those lost for HCM. So Lori funds can be used for one of those 4 reasons, and you must have HCM to qualify, and you must also financially qualify. So if you would like to apply, if you need help getting to a center, and it's up to $600 a year per person. It can be for food money on the road. It can be for travel. It can be for hotels. It can be for other out-of-pocket expenses. You just have to show your receipts, and we will write you a check for the $600 or whatever you need. And we're doing this because we don't want anybody to say, I can't afford to get to the center. Granted, it may not cover 100% of your expenses, but $600 can typically pay for transportation or hotels and gas money or whatever it is that you need to get there. For those of you who do not know, Lori was my sister. She was the one we lost in 1995 and kind of started the HCMA on its way. Lori was also a single mom at the time of her death. She was remarried for 6 months, but that's a whole other complicated story. But she struggled financially to try to support her children and also to get to the health care that she needed, which in her case, she was traveling great distances for. So we don't want to see anybody not get the care that they want, need, and deserve because of a couple of dollars. So if you need access to this fund, please use it. And I really, that's John's commenting. That's his mom. So we've given 15 scholarships already, which is over $7,000 of funds. And the way this fund works is if you donate to the Lori Fund, your money will be sequestered into the Lori Fund. And if we give a scholarship, we take a small processing fee and put it back into the general funds for HCMA. It's like 10% or 20% or something like that. I forget what the policy was. It's on the website. So we want to make sure everybody has an access point to a center. And here are some comments from Katie and Sarah, who were recipients of scholarships, and we hope that they're still doing well. If you need it, use it. If you can afford to donate, please do. Okay. Next, we're going to go over to Rochester.
And I am the
Hold
director.
Bipple. I got to get the microphone over there. We're going to hear from a couple of our centers. Here you go.
I'm Bipul Baibhav, and I am the director of the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Center of Excellence and director of cardiac imaging at Rochester Regional Health in Rochester, New York. We are located in Western New York, and we have our large system with 9 hospitals and multiple outpatient office sites. We established our center in 2019 and currently follow about 650 patients with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. We have a comprehensive multidisciplinary team which takes care of patients with HCM. As a comprehensive HCM center, we provide state-of-the-art cardiac imaging for diagnosis and treatment of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. High-quality imaging is extremely important for diagnosis and treatment of HCM and also aids in shared decision-making. Imaging modalities include echocardiography, stress echocardiograms, transesophageal echocardiograms, cardiac MRI, cardiac CT, and cardiopulmonary stress testing. Echocardiography is important to evaluate the thickness of the heart muscle, evaluate for LVOT obstruction, and evaluate mitral valve abnormalities, which are frequently seen in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. LVOT obstruction in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy can be masked, and we have to use physiological maneuvers and exercise to bring it out. Cardiac MRI is extremely important to accurately evaluate the thickness of the heart muscle, evaluate for scar, and to distinguish hypertrophic cardiomyopathy from some of the other mimics of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. As a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy center of excellence, we have a team of experts in diagnosis and treatment of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. We try to our best to provide high quality care to patients and families with HCM in Western New York.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Tobin, Chief of Pediatric Cardiology and the Medical Director of the Cardiomyopathy, Heart Failure, and Heart Transplant Program here at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. Today is Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Awareness Day, and Le Bonheur is an HCM Center of Excellence. So we are partnering with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association to bring you this list of 10 things you might not know about the disease.
HCM is a heart disease where the muscles that pump the heart become thick and stiff. Over time, the heart isn't able to pump enough blood for the body.
HCM affects as many as 1 in 200 people and can affect people of any age, gender, or ethnicity.
Timely diagnosis is very important so that supportive therapies can start as soon as possible. A cardiologist can identify HCM through imaging such as a heart ultrasound or MRI.
Symptoms of HCM are similar to many other heart conditions. Sometimes this looks like difficulty exercising, irregular heartbeats, or symptoms of heart failure like shortness of breath, fatigue, swelling in the ankles or feet, and dizziness.
HCM can be genetic. It is the most common heart disease that can be inherited through families. That's why genetic testing and family screening is so important. It can help identify the disease in family members even before they show symptoms.
HCM can cause sudden cardiac arrest, which is why training is so important for CPR and AEDs, which stands for Automated External Defibrillator.
The good news is patients with HCM may benefit from certain therapies, and centers like Le Bonheur provide treatment and prevention tailored to each family. Treatments may include medications, devices like defibrillators, and surgical options.
Doctors keep researching to understand the causes of and treatment for HCM. In fact, Le Bonheur is home to a National Institutes of Health Research Project grant to identify the genes that influence what type of cardiomyopathy a person develops and how severe it is.
The HCMA is advocating to improve HCM diagnosis through the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. This legislation will add cardiac screening questions to well-child visits, enhance student-athlete evaluations, and educate healthcare providers.
HCM centers of excellence, like Le Bonheur Children's Hospital, are the best places to get treatment for HCM because of the high volume of patients with HCM that we see and the high level of expertise that our physicians have, several of whom you've already met today. If you have interest in having your child seen, we would be more than thrilled to have you join us at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital here in Memphis, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Zinker from Ascension St. Thomas Heart in Nashville, Tennessee, and we are here commemorating HCM Awareness Day, which is in the month of February. And I'd like to thank Lisa Sahlberg and Stacy and the whole crew for setting this up. This is really great. We know that HCM is the most common inherited cardiovascular disease, and by contemporary genetic testing affects 1 in 200 people. There's really a lot of people that suffer with this condition that we'd like to help. One of my topics today was to talk about the highlights of HCM in 2023, and there are really several things. I think the biggest highlight has been the continued initiation of Camzyos, which is the first direct myosin inhibitor. This was FDA approved in 2022, and in the year of 2023, we rolled this out through the REMS program, and I think universally we found this drug to be very effective and safe if given under the guidance of the REMS system. The other highlight was the HCM Society had their second annual meeting in Cleveland, Ohio. We had 230 people show up to listen and challenge each other about HCM awareness and also its treatment. We have now discussed the options of genetic therapy. There's now a second drug in class cardiac myosin inhibitor called aficamten, which is currently being studied and hopefully will be approved. And we are doing some of those studies here at St. Thomas West. On a local level, we are very excited to continue to grow our program. Annie Radonsky and myself continue to grow and are very excited about seeing new patients and follow-up patients. We have been involved with the Valor trial. We're finishing that trial. We're about to embark on the Maple trial, which is comparison of a beta blocker to aficamten, deciding whether beta blockers are even needed as background therapy or not, because we know that some of those can cause side effects in our patients. We're also enrolling people in a study called the MYK-224 study, which is a new improved version of mavacamten, and we continue to enroll people in the Discover registry. I think very exciting, we have a new support staff, and we have grown, and to give our patients and families better access to our care, Anna Radonsky is going to introduce our 2 new staff members.
Yes, so this is such a great day for HCM, and I've been here at St. Thomas for 5 years now with Dr. Zenker, and we are growing and growing and growing, and it's a fabulous place to work besides all of the entertainment. But now we are so big that we have our own genetics team. We have an HCM coordinator, Jamie Belden, who's been a nurse for many, many years, who's helping coordinate our Camzyos patients. And we also have Rebecca Duke, who has also been a nurse for many, many years. And so we are so happy to have our program grow and grow. And it's amazing.
Great, and thank you very much. We hope to further help you with your journey with HCM. And what's nice to know is that we have all these options. We have medication options, research options, surgery, septal reduction therapy, and as a center of excellence, we're very proud to continue to support the HCMA and of course our patients and families. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Faraz Ali, and I'm the CEO at Tenaya Therapeutics. Thank you for making time to learn more about us and about our science. Working with leading patient organizations like the HCMA is critical to our mission, as important as all the science that we do here at Tenaya. For patients and families, we know that the status quo is simply not good enough. We know that you're watching and waiting, and we know that we can do better. And here at Tenaya Therapeutics, we are determined not to fail you. In the following video, you'll learn more about our approach towards gene therapy for the heart, and more specifically about TN-201.
Tenaya is shaping the future of heart disease treatment through a bold mission to develop therapies that address the underlying causes of heart diseases and conditions. Tenaya is addressing many heart conditions affecting both children and adults. utilizing genetics to discover and develop small molecule and gene therapy medicines for both rare and prevalent heart conditions. In gene therapy, Tenaya's approach is designed specifically for the heart and involves delivery of a working gene with AAV9. AAV, or adeno-associated virus, is the leading vector for delivering genetic medicines. AAV is naturally occurring and has not been found to cause disease in humans. With this approach, viral DNA is removed and replaced by the gene of interest and elements that direct the therapy to target cells. A one-time intravenous infusion delivers a working copy of the gene. This provides the code to produce functional protein and correct the underlying genetic cause of disease. Tenaya's initial focus is on addressing the leading genetic cause of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy due to pathogenic variants in the MYBPC3 gene, as well as the leading genetic cause of arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy due to variants in the PKP2 gene. We will not stop until we have helped every person with heart disease reach their own peak. Contact us to learn more about our gene therapy programs.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Wendy Borsari, and I'm proud to be a part of the patient advocacy team at Tenaya Therapeutics. As a patient living with HCM myself and the mother of 2 affected children, I know firsthand the challenges HCM presents to patients and families every day. And I'm committed to working with our community to help bring new solutions to life. Since 2013, I've been working alongside industry, advocates, and leading physicians to advance the treatments of HCM. And it's been thrilling to witness firsthand the strides being made to understand the condition and improve the lives of people living with HCM. Tenaya is committed to discovering and developing medicines that go beyond simply treating symptoms and address the root causes of diseases of the heart. Genetic medicines like gene therapy for MYBPC3 associated HCM are becoming a reality. And Tenaya is at the forefront of bringing these potentially life-changing treatments to patients. Patients are why we do what we do at Tenaya. If you'd ever like to learn more about our efforts, I encourage you to reach out to me directly at patient.advocacy@tenayathera.com. There are so many ways to get involved, whether it's participating in a clinical trial or natural history study, learning about genetic testing, or contributing to our knowledge of life with HCM. I encourage you to reach out. Happy HCM Awareness Day, everyone, from all of us at Tenaya. Thank you.
Okay, I'm getting a little slow on my slide changes now. Getting tired. So again, look what slide popped back up. If you've learned something tonight, if you've been inspired tonight so far, I encourage you to take a moment, give a $5 donation, give a $500 donation, whatever you can afford. Every penny goes back to serve this community. So I am going to get on with the next couple of slides that we have here. Let's see what's coming up next. Our ambassadors. You're going to love this. So about a year ago, we started our ambassador program. And mostly we're focused on social media ambassadors. And there's a lot of different ways that people can be a social media ambassador or just a general HCM ambassador. So I'm really excited to share with you some of the work that our ambassadors have been doing in this presentation. Ready, set, go.
Today is HCM Awareness Day, Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Awareness Day, and the HCMA ambassadors, a group of diverse individuals, are committed to helping the HCMA, a 501c3 organization, shine the light on this genetic heart condition that affects 1 in 250 people, all women, men, and children who are either diagnosed or unknowingly living with this condition, regardless of age or ethnicity. You are about to hear from other courageous and powerful ambassadors as they share why it is important to spread awareness for this potentially life-threatening disease.
I'm excited to be here to tell you why I think being an ambassador is so important. Awareness with HCM can save lives, period. There are so many people that are misdiagnosed and people that go undiagnosed. And by raising awareness through all of our channels, through social media, through our friends, through our colleagues, we're able to build awareness for this disease. And with that comes more focus on treatments and potential cures. So being an ambassador and helping spread the word is something that has been a driving force for me since this program started. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
It is important to spread awareness about HCM because awareness saves lives. By enlightening others on how to get screened and recognize this disease, we can prevent sudden cardiac deaths and improve the quality of life for those silently suffering with HCM. I myself lived 20 years in ignorance, and through the power of screening and treatment from an HCMA recognized Center for Excellence, I'm able to manage my disease and have been able to relieve my symptoms. I'm lucky to be here today, and it's important to pay it forward to honor the memory of all of those whom we lost and for the sake of all those whom we can save.
It's important to me to raise awareness about HCM as an ambassador because the symptoms are so very commonly misdiagnosed as other ailments. And I want to make sure that heart disease is something we're talking about every day as well. If I can encourage just one person to listen to their symptoms and say that they want to get checked, I feel I've succeeded.
I am here today because of this organization, and if I can help save a life, that is why I became an HCMA ambassador. Please take a minute and help me spread the word. You may just save a life. Thank you.
This organization and group, right down to every single individual, has always really supported me. The least that I could possibly do is support and help all of those other individuals who just need to be seen, heard, to provide that love and unconditional support for all that you're going through, where you are right here and now.
I've been an ambassador for HCM for about a year and a half. And the reason I do it is this lady right here. And that is my mama. And she searched for 69 years for answers of what is wrong with her. And she could never get those answers. 2 years after she died, I was diagnosed with HCM, and it immediately smacked me in the face and said, this is the answer your mom searched for all her life. So I am not an ambassador for myself. I'm an ambassador for my mom, because if she would have only known or had not fallen through the cracks, I truly believe she would be here today.
Being an HCMA ambassador is important to me because HCM has had a really big impact on my family. My family, a sudden cardiac arrest has taken the lives of few family members. So by raising awareness, I'm hoping that other families won't have to go through that. Raising awareness in general, hopefully people will advocate for themselves, ask the right questions, and get a proper diagnosis that will lead them to excellent care.
I am a proud HCMA ambassador. HCM claimed the life of my brother at 33 years old and left my family at great risk. After his passing, I learned that his care was grossly mishandled. And now I work alongside the HCMA to help bring more awareness for my family, for the African American community, and people around the world.
I'm doing this because I want to make sure that there is nobody else that goes through what I have been going through in my HCM journey.
It's important for me as an HCMA ambassador to raise awareness because my grandma and my mom might both still be here had they been aware of their disease.
If you are considering becoming an HCMA ambassador, here's what you need to know. The Ambassador Program is a welcoming community of individuals who are all at different stages of their journey with HCM. You will be well supported by our volunteer coordinators, the organization at large, and will receive help finding your public presence with what is a very personal situation. We need strong voices and individuals like yourself to raise awareness about HCM with the latest science, research, and messaging. This is a chance to make a difference, and all are welcome to apply. We are the faces of HCM. Get to know us.
Okay, I'm getting choked up here. These people are amazing. They're really amazing. And if I thought 28 years ago that I would find all of these amazing humans in the world to help spread the word, well, they're just amazing. So, oh my goodness, I'm getting emotional.
Today,
Here we go again. I got to double click past all these. Here are some of the posts and some of the experiences that our ambassadors have had. Y'all get a t-shirt. You become an ambassador, you get a t-shirt. So you take your t-shirt, you take photos of yourself, you share your story, whatever you're comfortable with. And we have a hashtag that we're using called Big Heart Big Life. And if you search the hashtag Big Heart Big Life or HCM or for HCM or hypertrophic cardiomyopathy or HCM Warrior, we have a couple of tags, you can see all of their stories. And there's an ambassador page on the website where you can learn more about them there. They are amazing individuals, and I thank each and every one of them from the bottom of both of my hearts, transplant joke there, for sharing their HCM story and being public every month. They're putting out new content. They're sharing each other's content. They're supporting each other. They're coming up with innovative ways to spread the word. So if you want to join our HCM Ambassador Program, we need more ambassadors, and we need them from all over the country and frankly, all over the world now. So if you're interested in becoming an HCMA ambassador, I would please ask you to use this QR code or email Julie, who you saw at the top of the program, at 4hcm.org, and she'll be happy to get you set up in the program. You do have to answer some questions, and you have to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're planning on being an ambassador. So we want to make this a meaningful program. So hopefully we'll see you in our ambassador program in the future.
Hey guys, my name is Ankit Bhatia.
These ones start. We've got a couple more centers we're going to hear from. And the very last one that we're going to show tonight is worth sticking around for, because we said, hey, make us some TikTok style videos. You're going to see one soon that will get your attention. So hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hear from Christ Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio now.
I'm co-director of the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Program, Center of Excellence here at Christ Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I want to talk to you guys more about clinical trials. So clinical trials are really a process of moving care forward. And in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, this field has revolutionized itself in the last 5 years. Specifically, myosin inhibitors have become part of the new standard of care and are really changing the way that we face this condition and the way we treat our patients. So you might be asking, why would I participate in a future clinical trial? So first off, let me break down clinical trials. So clinical trials have different phases. You have phase 1, and phase 1 is going to be more related to safety. That's going to be a small number of patients. You got phase 2. That's usually more related to dosing and how to get the appropriate dose of a drug for a patient. And then finally, you have phase 3. And by phase 3, you're looking at as if a med is going to be effective versus standard of care. By the point of phase 3, which is what most trials are enrolling for and have the largest number of patients, the med has already been shown to be safe. It's more of a question of, is it going to work more than what we have available? So why involved in clinical trials? I think it's because it's the standard of care. Right now, our medicine is incomplete, and we can do more to treat our hypertrophic cardiomyopathy patients. So I encourage you to talk to your physicians and talk to your healthcare teams if you have any questions about clinical trials, but consider it as a way to move care forward and to help treat symptoms.
Hi, this is Marshall Brinkley from Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Thank you to the HCMA and to each of you for raising awareness about HCM. As you may know, HCM affects up to 1 in 250 people, but many of them are undiagnosed. HCM Awareness is a great opportunity to remind your family members to be screened. There are now many effective therapies for HCM, and early detection can save lives. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Ayers, and I'm one of the co-directors of the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Center of Excellence here at the University of Virginia. And I'm very excited to give you guys our updates. I want to start by introducing our cast of characters here at UVA, and I'm going to use the 4 different pillars of HCM care to introduce these folks. Those 4 pillars being genetics, heart failure or shortness of breath due to how your heart is functioning, abnormal heart rhythms, and lifestyle. Now, as a guard to help shuttle these different folks in the areas they need to go, we have imaging as the 5th overriding pillar of HCM care. And I'm pausing because we're very fortunate to have Chris Kramer, one of the world's experts in cardiac MRI in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, here at UVA as one of our co-directors. Now, in the top right-hand corner, we see genetics. Genetics really both encompasses personal and family risk. And for this pillar, we're going to lean on our counseling experts. And for that, we have one of the lead experts in cardiovascular inherited diseases, Matt Thomas, who helps us with the genetic piece. When it comes to heart failure, there's 2 different flavors. There's obstructive and non-obstructive. Obstructive means there's a blockage of blood flow out of the heart to the rest of the body. And in addition to medications, we use procedures and surgeries to help these people breathe better. Our proceduralist, our interventional cardiologist, Mike Ragasta, is on the top there, and our surgeon doing our myectomies is John Kern. From a non-obstructive piece, we're often managing symptoms, but about 2% of patients are going to progress to needing things like heart transplantation. For that, I'm going to introduce you to Jim Bergen, who is the head of our heart failure group here that helps us move these patients towards transplant when that's what's necessary. When it comes to abnormal heart rhythms, there's abnormal heart rhythms from the top and from the bottom chambers. And for that, we have both a pediatric, Dr. McDaniel, and adult, Dr. Mason, expert to help guide us through the management of these complex rhythms. Lastly, in lifestyle, we're going to deal with both exercise and other comorbidities, and I'll introduce you to the 2 other leading clinicians. One, you've already met, me, the other co-director of the Center of Excellence here, and to the left of me on that picture is Dr. LeCoyer, who heads up our pediatric group. But this isn't our whole HCM team, and I want to take a moment to make sure I introduce at least 2 of our nurses, Peggy Dame and Karen McLean. For those of you who have had the experience here, I'm sure you've noticed our nurses are front and center in almost everything we do, and they are vital to the success of our Center of Excellence. But what's new at UVA? Well, a bunch. For one thing, the HCMR registry, which is a very large international multi-center registry looking at different cardiac MRI parameters and how they correlate and predict outcomes in HCM patients, a study for which Chris Kramer is the lead PI in the world, should soon be coming to a close. And I'm very hopeful it's going to give us a lot of insight into the prognosis of different patients and tie together imaging parameters with management. Research continues to move forward here. We have 6 or 8 posters at ACC this year. That's the American College of Cardiology, which, by the way, Chris Kramer will be president of in the coming year. We also have multiple posters at nuclear conferences, CMR, cardiac MRI conferences, and echocardiographic conferences, as well as HCM-specific conferences like the HCM Society. So research continues to move forward. In that vein, we've hired a new clinical research coordinator as part of our team, Mary Nicely, who will be sitting with us in clinic, registering people for our in-house HCM registry and making sure everyone is screened for clinical trials that might be appropriate for their care. Speaking of clinical trials, we're still participating in both mavacamten and aficamten trials, but we're very hopeful that we'll be opening ADV9, adenovector gene therapy trials in the near future, as well as trials on SGLT1/2 inhibitors, drugs you might have heard of on commercials like Jardiance or Farxiga that we're hopeful are going to help some of our folks with HCM. We're also one of the first pediatric sites in the entire world to participate in the mavacamten trials, and we're very proud and excited about our pediatric work. We also have imaging trials that are specifically ongoing, looking at cardiac MRI, nuclear imaging, and echocardiography, and we're hopeful that we'll continue to marry imaging findings with prognosis and management. Speaking of some of our experts, when you tally together all the talks we've given over the last year, we've given talks in over 15 cities on 3 continents. So the UVA brand of HCM expertise continues to grow. But it would not do so without the HCMA. And so I wanted to pause to thank the HCMA for this tremendous opportunity. And I'm looking forward to continuing to partner with you guys moving forward. Thank you so much for your time, and feel free to reach out with any questions.
Hello, my name is Bethany Fearam, and I am the Global Lead for HCM on our Global Patient Affairs team. And on behalf of all of us at BioMarin, we would like to congratulate HCMA for their years of service supporting research and providing the community with valuable resources to help educate and support those living with HCM. This past year, BioMarin has initiated outreach to patients, clinicians, and advocates for HCM. We were honored to partner with HCMA to support their Gene Therapy Education Initiative, annual conference of patients, families, and the healthcare community, and their collaborative clinical endpoints workshop. These important initiatives are moving the needle further each year to provide an important understanding of the unmet needs for people living with HCM, their families, and how we can address these needs together. We look forward to supporting more HCM treatment education efforts with HCMA in 2024.
Hi, my name is John Kaltman, and I work as the Global Clinical Lead for the BioMarin Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Program. This year, BioMarin will continue our research and continue to learn from HCMA and its community about the patient experience. We're looking forward to partnership with the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy patient community in 2024 and beyond.
Hi, my name is Pooja Agarwal, and I'm the head of gene therapy research at BioMarin. At BioMarin, we strive to develop best-in-class genetic medicines for rare diseases with clear genetic underpinnings, including HCM. We've established a strong leadership in the gene therapy space, from early research through clinical development, as well as commercial-scale manufacturing. We're going to take the same learnings and successes from our existing gene therapy programs and bring that same focused effort and dedication to the development of our new gene therapy for HCM.
It's about trying to transform patients' lives.
Transformational is always forefront.
We're uniquely positioned to capitalize on that remarkable transformation of the field of genetics because we have been doing genetic medicine longer than anybody else.
We're building upon what we learned to have even greater impact to bigger patient populations.
Our team is working on gene therapy, and we're not limiting ourselves to one modality.
When you see the patients, that's what's most rewarding for all of us.
Now I know that there is hope.
Okay, we are hitting the final.
Hello, my name is Bethany Fearam, and
again, people. I told you that was going to happen. So we're kind of hitting towards the end of our presentation today, and I did not put a slide in for this, but I after we talk about this slide, I've got something to tell you about in vitae genetic testing. So HCMA membership. We ask for membership for those who can afford, and for those who can't, we have scholarships. I will get some exact numbers out to you in another couple of weeks, but membership is subsidized by donors and sponsors. So when we're asking for membership dollars from each individual family, it helps us provide the services that we need to provide to you, and it helps keep the lights on and the doors open and the staff here. So if you can afford a membership, please do an annual membership or a renewal membership. And if you can't afford, we have scholarships available. If you set up an individual consult with the HCMA, you do your intake and then you do a navigation call. Non-members get 15 minutes of phone time with a navigation staff. If you are a paid member, that is a 45-minute slot because we can afford it. So if you can afford to pay for membership, it's been stuck at $82 for the past 5 or 6 years, and we've been subsidizing it with other monies. But it's actually about $250 to $280 worth of services and time that you're getting from our staff and the materials that we send you in the mail. So if you can afford, please do. If you can't afford, please apply for a scholarship. If you have the means, you can sponsor a scholarship as well so that somebody else can get that extra time on the phone. So we appreciate your support, and I really do encourage you each to make sure that your membership is up to date. You can do it right online. I wanted to give you an update on the company Invitae. They had been previously a sponsor of ours, and they are still very good friends. However, they have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It does not mean that your genetic testing results will not be available. It is likely that Invitae will be sold to another company. I just spoke to some senior leadership at Invitae last night, and they wanted me to impart to you that they are going to be here for the long haul. It just may not be under the name of Invitae in a couple of months, but they are here, and genetic testing is available through them. It's just they have to coordinate their business enterprise so that they can continue to provide the services that they've been providing. But again, there may be a buyout and there may be under a different name, but I don't want anybody to worry. I've gotten a lot of inquiries about where my genetic test results going to be. They will be acquired potentially by a new company, and you'll have access from that. So that is number one that I wanted to talk about. And number two slide that I forgot to put together for you. For those of you who are taking Metoprolol, and you want name brand Toprol, the licensing for name brand Toprol has been shifted to a new company. We are in talks with them to provide you with some avenues to get name brand Toprol through a program that will limit the cost. So we're still working on that relationship and exactly what that pathway is going to look like. But a number of you have contacted us saying you're having a hard time getting authorized generic Toprol. There will not be any more authorized generic Toprol under this current situation, but there will be name brand Toprol available to you shortly, and we are going to provide you with a pathway for that. So give us a couple of weeks to get that organized, and we will get that into your hands as quickly as we possibly can. But there will be name brand Toprol. Authorized generic will no longer be available in the United States. So it's going to be name brand or generic. Please make sure you're staying consistent on your manufacturers. If you're not sure how to do that, please give us a call and we'll walk you through it. So those are the two things that I forgot to add to the slide deck. So let's get on to our next topic, which is our memorial slides. So we've tried many ways to recognize those who we've lost to HCM over the years, and my family personally has lost quite a few, and our community has lost a lot over the years. I think sadly, I probably know more people living and dead with HCM than most people will ever know. So I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge those who we've lost, and we've done so in two ways. And we have some names that are going to appear across the screen in a minute, and I will leave them up there. They are not everybody that we've lost to HCM, but they are many of our friends, our family members. And if we have missed an individual from our memorial list, you are always welcome to share a memorial with us, and we're happy to memorialize your loved one on our website. There are some key names in here that I want to bring to everybody's attention. Not that anybody has more importance than anybody else. We've all lost a lot. But Caroline Rosenstone was a dear member of the community who passed away this past summer. She was very active in many of our webinars, and that was a tough loss for us this year as a community. Heather Wartenberg is a woman I've known since the 90s. She went on to transplant and then had complications post-transplant, and we lost her in August, which was a really hard one for many of us. There are so many names on this list, and every one of them has an amazing story, an amazing legacy that they've left behind. So I want to just take a moment to acknowledge that grief is real. Familial grief, generational grief is real. We don't forget those we lost. They remain with us forever, and they are a guiding light for me every day. There are some names I know. I'm looking at this list right now. There's a little boy named Tyler Gingrey who will always have a very, very special place in my heart. And anytime I see the color yellow, I think of him. He's been gone a long time now. Carolyn Biro, a wonderful mentor, lost to complications from her transplant back in 2002. I will ever be forever grateful that she came into my life. Matt Riccardi, who was an intern here in the HCMA office, we lost him in 2019. Claude Brady, the first patient ever diagnosed with HCM in 1959, passed away in January of 22, at the ripe old age of 84. So be a Claude, live a long, happy life. There are so many names here, including my sister Lori, my father and my grandfather, my uncle, and my great aunt. So many lost to HCM. And this is why we do what we do every day, to keep this list short and to make sure you all live long, productive, and happy lives. Here are some photos of those who we've lost. The HCM Awareness Day heart is denoted on those who we lost this year. Heather and Carolyn and Sharon, who's down here at the bottom. She was an art teacher. She was a beautiful woman. And I wish these people were still with us, but they are not. But I want to take a special moment out tonight because today should have been Dominic Crane's 18th birthday. He didn't get to be 18. And he was very loved and he is very missed. And I wanted to take a moment to wish him a happy birthday, heavenly birthday. So to those who we've lost, we've not forgotten you, and you're with us every day. And now I want to kind of wrap up the evening by talking about our Faces of HCM process and the way we share stories. And I wanted to highlight a couple of stories. The first one's going to be a video, and I'm going to be really honest with you because I'm always honest with y'all. Told you I had COVID last week, and I was supposed to come to the office on Thursday afternoon last week and videotape and interview a family from New Jersey who, because of the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act elements that are in place here in New Jersey, we were able to diagnose a young man. And well, I'm going to let them tell you the rest of the story, but we had to kind of put this video clip together for you quite quickly. So the introduction is, this is only possible because of the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act elements that are in place here in New Jersey. And this shows you the magic of what we can do. So let's hear their story.
What led us to the doctor, to the cardiologist in Marshtown, was Bradley had a soccer physical that he had to get done for the fall. Marshtown Hospital called me to fill out paperwork and to get insurance information, and the nurse said, "Oh, we have an appointment available on August 2nd. Do you want to take that?"
We were both planning to go, but we honestly didn't want to make it something more traumatic for him than it needed to be. We didn't really know what was going on, and we figured the whole family's going for this appointment, make things seem larger than they are.
It was a day after Bradley played a soccer tournament, and that day that we went to get his EKG and echo, she pulled out a drawing of the heart, and she was explaining that he has HCM. It didn't register when she was going over it, how serious this was.
The first time I heard the words hypertrophic cardiomyopathy was when I was diagnosed. I eventually sat down with the doctor and I heard this word and I had no idea what it meant. It made me just kind of confused on what it was.
And at some point she said he can't play athletics again. And as soon as she said that, I kind of woke up and I said, "Wait, what?" And after that, I didn't hear anything else she said. And I said, "Can you please call my husband? Because I don't think I can talk in the car." And it was the longest half an hour drive home I've ever had.
So shortly after Bradley was diagnosed, we were told to get genetic testing done.
It had to be from one of my parents.
And I've also been diagnosed with HCM. Emma and I kind of joke because she swore it came from her side of the family. And ends up, it's my side.
Not only are Brian and I both worried about Bradley, to the point where there's nights where I get up in the middle of the night and go check on him and make sure he's okay and that kind of thing. But now my husband has it as well. It's definitely something
I can't think too far in the future about. I kind of just take it every day.
Yeah, I think the recent acts in New Jersey have really helped. Bradley had no symptoms, very active soccer player, was playing soccer up until the day he was diagnosed, and you would never know that he was having these issues. A few additional tests from the pediatrician is what uncovered the murmur and allowed us to, get the diagnosis, but more importantly, allow us to follow a path of treatment.
So I wasn't able to fully edit the entire interview, but this is an average family with HCM. This is us. This is our stories. This is why it's so important to keep talking about HCM and sharing stories. So we're going to go to a different type of story now.
What led us
And
to
why does it keep doing that? I couldn't help but at the last minute pull one of our HCM warrior stories that had to do with IVF. And I'm not trying to be all political here or in any way controversial, but Colin's story goes back many, many years. Actually, he was probably one of the earliest. I think I started talking to them in around 1999, 2000, when he was young. His mom had contacted us because he had these cardiac symptoms and somebody thought he had HCM. Colin ended up needing an implantable defibrillator, which has appropriately fired and saved his life multiple times. And he's had some challenges with his HCM. So when he wanted to start a family, he and his wife decided that they would try to not pass on the HCM gene to the next generation. And there's technology that can be used to do that through in vitro fertilization and pre-implantation genetic diagnostics, or PGD. This is an opportunity to select the embryos that do not carry the HCM gene and use those for fertilization and implantation, I should say, and allow that family to stop the cycle of HCM. And this little guy was born free of HCM. And this is the power of IVF and PGD. We can stop disease from going forward. And I think that's an absolutely beautiful thing. And if you want to learn more about Colin's story, you can visit the HCMA website and go to Faces of HCM and learn more about his story and really understand the power of IVF and HCM. The other story I wanted to highlight from the Faces of HCM program is Maya's story. Maya comes from a family that she knew HCM was in the family. She is a pharmacist. She is a health knowledgeable individual, and she kept going back to a center of excellence year after year to be screened. And her HCM was really quite mild. She didn't have many symptoms, but then things changed. And I think and then things changed moment is something that resonates with a lot of people in the community because you're fine for a period of time and then things change. So when her story changed, she went back to the doctor recently and it was time to try a new medication. So she has been taking a myosin inhibitor and shares her story in the Faces of HCM. And I would encourage you to take a look at her story. And it really does highlight the importance of family screening and being followed up by a center and really making sure that you stay in touch with the HCM community so that we can make sure that we're getting you the therapies that you need when you need them, and how important it is to listen to your heart. So I encourage you all to go to the HCMA website and take a look at that. We are rounding up our evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I really appreciate you all sticking with us. If you want to share your HCM story, you can use this QR code. You can email Julie and say, I want to share my story. And we will do an interview with you. Julie will document your story. We will find the proper way to tell your story. We'll use your own pictures and your own details, as much or as little of your HCM journey as you want to share. Not everything has to be open to the public. And we really hope that you would encourage, we hope that you're encouraged to join and share your story. You've seen our ambassadors, you've seen our volunteers, you've seen all these wonderful people here working for you. You too can share your story and somebody else will align with you. You are going to make a difference in somebody's life. So please join our Share Your Story program. And this is how to do it. Okay, we are rounding down to the end. What is the other? Oh, I have to give a shout out to our sponsors. But before I do that, I forgot to put the slide in for our very vibrant HCM Facebook private group community. We are approaching 11,000 users in the private group, and I want to give a big shout out to all of our volunteer moderators, literally from around the world. So we have Tim in Canada, we have Fabian in France, we have Mark in California, we have Marion in the Netherlands, we have Gordon in New Mexico, we have Victoria in Michigan, we have Lee in Australia, we have Juliana in Brazil, and we just added Dino and Marcy and in Canada, and Chris, I forget where Chris is from in the United States, but she's US based. HCMA staff, Sabrina, Linda, Julie, Ross are all involved in the Facebook group as well. One of the memorial slides was for Paul Quick, who passed away several years ago, but was an integral part of our community, and we never forget his contributions. And I just want to thank all of you for being active volunteers. Oh, Leroy is joining from Canada as well as a moderator coming up in the next couple of weeks. So thank you to all of the volunteer moderators. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors. Without their financial support, programs like this would not be available. We wouldn't be able to do quite as much. We are really encouraged with all of our new biotech friends, and we have new meetings with new organizations that we're working on. It is absolutely amazing how many people are paying attention to HCM now. If you told me this was going to happen in 1995, I would have said you were insane, but we're living it now. So I thank them all for all of their support and partnership and friendship. They make it fun to do this work. This is hard work, but our partners make it really fun. Now we're going to do a couple more slides.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HCM Awareness Day program from Northwestern. I am Dr. Lubna Chowdhury, the director of the HCM program at Northwestern. I'm going to talk about a few focused topics briefly. First of all, why is it important to raise awareness of HCM? HCM is a fairly common condition which can mimic other conditions leading to a delayed diagnosis. So it's important to know the symptoms of HCM so that you can get diagnosed promptly and get treated appropriately. The HCM clinic at Northwestern was established in 2008 with the goal of providing specialized comprehensive state-of-the-art care to patients and families with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy in partnership with the HCM Association. Why is it essential for patients to seek care at a center of excellence for HCM? It is essential because such a center has a high volume of HCM patients with deep experience in caring for such patients, including establishing your diagnosis, because many times these patients have something else which is treated in a totally different way. So you first of all want to establish that you are diagnosed correctly, then get tested appropriately and get treated appropriately with either medicines, invasive therapy, surgery, etc. High volume centers also have the expertise to do a tailored approach of treatment to each patient with appropriate utilization of testing and therapies. These are more likely to be available at high volume centers with experience in treating complex patients, as the disease can be very complex and require multidisciplinary care. And these centers of excellence are also the most likely sites to offer patients screening and enrollment in clinical trials that are going on to treat HCM patients to discover new therapies. These clinical trials may actually benefit our patients who participate and advance the field in general. The most important things that happened in 2023 with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is that we have gained more experience using mavacamten in HCM patients with LV outflow tract obstruction, and we have very promising initial results of clinical trials with the next generation cardiac myosin inhibitor drug aficamten that we are waiting to see published. So the future options for treatment for our HCM patients is looking good. I thank you for your attention. This is our clinic number at Northwestern.
Hey, HCM Warriors. Alex DeFerry here from the University of Pennsylvania. Happy Heart Month. I wanted to put in a plug for the Healthy Cardiac Monitoring Act. which is aimed to try and help increase detection of cardiac conditions in young people, including hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. And it does that via various different mechanisms by improving the pre-sports participation physicals, adding questions to the questionnaires, trying to identify types of inherited heart problems, and then even adding ways for healthcare professionals to get extensive training to be able to detect these issues. And so as a lot of you may know, sometimes these conditions present with no symptoms at all, and the first thing we find is a life-threatening complication. And so our goal is to try and detect more and prevent those things. So would love your support. Happy Heart Month, guys.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. This next video is the most unique we've seen presented. So hang on, don't go anywhere yet. We're wrapping up, but you got to see Allegheny's contribution to HCM Awareness Day. You ready? Set? Here we go. They took the TikTok form and really took it.
HCMA, HCMA. HCMA, HCMA.
Hi, and welcome to our hypertrophic cardiomyopathy clinic here at Allegheny General Hospital in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have been accredited now for a year, and we follow about 350 patients. My name is Kathy Ridgway, and I'm the program coordinator here at Allegheny General. And my team consists of the medical director, Dr. Craig Albert, the imaging specialist, Dr. Victor Farah, and of course, our nurse practitioner, Jennifer Keeley. As a program coordinator, I am the touch point to all 350 of our hypertrophic patients. I help them get genetic testing, get authorized for any medication they need to be on, including Camzyos, see all patients in clinic, and just follow through to their everyday needs that they would need through the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy clinic here.
Hi, as Kathy said, I'm Jennifer Keeley. I'm the nurse practitioner here in the Allegheny General Hospital Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association Clinic here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As she also alluded to, we've been a accredited clinic here for close to a year, and we're really excited about that. One of the reasons we're mostly excited to have this multidisciplinary clinic is the ability to educate our patients. We get patients from a myriad of cities, including the tri-state area, West Virginia, Ohio, Northern Pennsylvania, as well as Eastern Pennsylvania, and even into Maryland. One of the things that I enjoy and the most is educating patients. They really come to us very uneducated. And so through the help of pharmacy, through the help of our marketing department, through the help of our patient education department, we're able to help them not only understand their disease, but help them journey through their disease from diagnosis to treatment to even transplantation. And so we're really excited to do that. We also, Kathy and I, help to run our cardiac myosin inhibitor clinic, which is our mavacamten clinic. So we have approximately 40 patients on drug at this point. And we not only talk to them after each REMS echocardiogram, we talk to them in between times just to see how they're doing. So although it can be very time consuming, it's extremely rewarding. And we've been really, really thrilled with the ability to help our patients, again, through their journey, if you will, of their disease. It's amazing to me how many people come to our clinic without really knowing what hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is. So it's exciting to see the empowerment in our patients as we educate them through this journey. Thank you so much.
When we said TikTok style, they took the challenge. So props to Allegheny for having a little sense of humor and helping us raise awareness. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes HCM Awareness Day. You will be getting a follow-up email if you signed up, and you can also use this survey link. And we need to hear from you. As we move forward in our work, we want to make sure we're staying in touch with where you need us most. So giving us some feedback is going to be really, really helpful. And hopefully you can all join us and complete this survey, and that'll help us tailor some programming for you in the future. This is my thank you slide. You may see it a lot because I use the same one every time. But every member of our board, thank you for your time, intellect, intelligence, compassion, passion for your time on the board. To our staff, you guys are the freaking best. I know the last 3 weeks have been absolutely insane, and boss has kind of lost her mind through going to DC and doing hill visits and getting COVID and trying to pull all this together. So thank you all for pulling it together and doing the awesome job that you guys do all the time. Love you all. To our volunteers, it takes a village, and you are part of our village. We're looking for you to get more involved. There's new ways to get involved. The legislative efforts are going to need a lot of hands to lift it. I don't care if you're a patient, a family member, a friend of a family member, if you work in the industry, if you are somehow involved, if you're listening to this message, we need your voice and we need your help to go find the undiagnosed. We thank all of our partners. We thank all of our friends in other advocacy organizations, our global partners. We didn't talk a lot about our international efforts tonight. Stay tuned for updates on our international projects. There's a lot going on there. Thank you to all of you who came to the Hill. Thanks to all of you who logged in. Thanks to all of our Center of Excellence partners, clinicians, support staff. So much more to come. And thank you all. And this is a wrap for HCM Awareness Day 2024. Thank you all. Have a great night.